District, Senator Jay Collins. And Jay, before we went to break, we were talking about your sort of warrior initiative and transitioning
Mhm.
men and women from active military service to more public service. And that's sort of been a theme I've noticed over the years where I've seen lots of people leave military practice and then sort of go into law enforcement. But I think this initiative, sort of broadening that into public service, into public office, could revolutionize. And I think one of the reasons why we see this sort of longevity in politicians and that's one of the criticisms, especially it's extremely topical given certain debate performances recently where people say, well, aren't politicians in office too long? And I think one of the things that keeps politicians in office so long is the fact that there's not necessarily this huge influx of young blood trying to run for office. And I think if that were the case, and I think your initiative could definitely support that, maybe it would lead to more of these sort of long in the tooth politicians, being forced out of office by some of the newer generation.
Patrick, I do believe that's part of it for sure. And the truth is, I am a huge proponent of term limits. I think it's something that we absolutely have to broach at the federal level. But the reality is, if we do term limits, we also have to term limit the people underneath the elected officials. Or, frankly, you've just transferred power to unelected bureaucrats to do with whatever they want with the American people in our nation. So ultimately, there's a lot of discussion that has to go in it. And if you're going to do it, we got to do it right. But that's absolutely it. The tree of liberty has to be refreshed from time to time. And that means that new people got to step into the breach. If we don't want 30 and 40-year politicians sitting there forever, and I will never be that, because I want to come back and enjoy life with my family and go back to our way of life. God willing, we do a lot of good things in the community, but in the end, we have to go back to the community and live in the nation or the state that we help create. That helps keep people honest. It helps keep them responsible. That's what it should be. That's what our founding fathers intended.
Well, and I think that nowadays there's almost, and I hate to say it, so you remember the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, the Frank Capra classic?
I do.
Okay. What I love about that movie is the idea that it's one man standing against the political machine. And I think your point about the bureaucracy and how entrenched it is, it the 13-year-old me that saw this show for the first time and believed that that was true. I have to admit, my cynicism has grown over the years. And I would love to believe that one lawmaker like a Senator Jefferson Smith could make all that difference. But I'm a little jaded now. And I just remember the whole point of that particular scene at the end of the movie was it wasn't so much Senator Smith won, because remember, he collapsed, but Senator Payne, when he witnessed that young man collapsing, then confessed. Without that confession, I think Senator Smith loses. And I think that speaks to the brilliant job that Capra did describing the machine and what is entrenched in Washington and to a certain degree in Tallahassee. You see the bureaucracy that is there, and when the senators move in and move out, the staff oftentimes stays exactly the same, and that's one of the battles for us is how do we enforce term limits without also enforcing this term limiting of the bureaucrats? And I don't know the answer to that one, Jay.
Well, I don't know that there is a perfect answer, and it's something that we're going to have to work on. But our form of government is far from perfect. There is no perfect form, but it is far better than the other things that are out there right now. And if we really stick to it and we follow if we use our government the way the founding fathers intended, this is a constitutional republic. The minority and the majority are protected from each other, but in the end, everyone's protected from the government. Those inalienable rights are worth fighting for. And frankly, we absolutely have to maintain that. And I think it's an ongoing struggle. But the truth is, you got to have real people, business leaders, people from the private sector, from the nonprofit sector, from the military, from law enforcement, step in here and do something that perhaps wasn't intended. Our founding fathers, they weren't career politicians, right? They stepped in. Some were soldiers, some were leaders, some worked in business, and they created our form of government. They stepped in, served, and went back. You look at what Washington did. He, frankly, set the model and set the mode, and that's what we should follow. You got to live in what you created. But earlier, when we spoke about this, I think it's also important when we talk about our veterans stepping into the breach like this, they have to continue to grow and they have to continue to push themselves. You can't just show up and think that everything's going to be simple and easy and that you're not going to have to broaden your horizons. It's an entirely new lexicon. It's a new method of doing things, and you have to continue to evolve, and you have to continue to push for what you believe in. But what I think is really incumbent on each of us is to understand how important that moral compass is, what it is that our electeds believe in, what it is that when all the chips are in or when things are really going down, what are they going to turn to? What does their compass point to? And that's why I believe in our military. I think the vast majority of people, they believe in serving our nation. We didn't do it for pay. We didn't do it for personal benefit.
It's adapt or die in a way. I mean, if you're not, you can't, as sad as it is, we all get old, Jay, and not everyone can stay a frontline infantryman forever. And you mentioned what our founding fathers envisioned. And we had a sovereign citizen call into my Saturday morning show a few weeks back, and he said, I want to get rid of all these pesky amendments. I want to reset the Constitution back to what the founders envisioned. And I said, all these pesky amendments, huh? And he goes, well, maybe not all of them at once. Let's just start with 14 and 4. And I said, well, Danny, I said, not everybody listening is a constitutional law scholar, so give me a moment to unpack that for the listeners. I said, 14 is equal protection. 4 is the right to private property and the protection from illegal searches and seizures. And I said, Danny, for those reasons, I'm out on this reset. I said, the beauty of our Constitution was that it ripped power from a crown. And I said, granted, it ripped it to a very limited group of white landowning males, so to speak, at the time. But even though that was the initial step, ever since that day, we've been more and more inclusive in who has those rights to participate in our government and to have those protections. And I think that's the beauty of the amendments, is that they continue to be more inclusive. And I think Danny's call was trending in the other direction. But I think that we work so hard to make it so inclusive, and then we have so many people just forego the opportunity to serve. So we're coming up on our next break, Jay. We'll continue this on the other side of the break. This is Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. Joining us on the hotline is Senator Jay Collins. If you have a comment or question, a legal question, we'll be happy to answer. Maybe you want to ask Senator Collins a question about one of his pieces of legislation. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. And again, I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, normally heard Saturday mornings at 8 a.m., filling in for Bill Bunkley. Everyone stay tuned. We will be right back after these short messages.
You are mine.
W282CI Tampa, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com.
Or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Rail cars carrying hazardous material have derailed and burst into flames in a remote area of North Dakota. Officials say no one was hurt in the derailment. The wind is carrying the smoke away from the nearby town of Borderlac, which has about 20 residents. Shark attacks disrupting 4th of July celebrations Thursday at South Padre Island, as 2 people were taken to the hospital with bites, at least one of them severe. Authorities say malfunctioning fireworks veered into the stands at a crowded Utah football stadium and struck members of the audience. A spokesperson for the event's organizers says 6 people were taken to the hospital following the mishap at a 4th of July celebration in Provo. The Dow had 18 points, the NASDAQ up 147. This is SRN News.
This is a red alert for hardworking Americans who are tired of seeing their freedoms and retirement savings threatened by the globalist agenda. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to find whistleblowers who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 elections storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in the crosshairs. That's why we've compiled our 3 favorite ideas into our Election Protection Report. You definitely won't hear any of these in the mainstream news. Get your free copy of our Election Protection Report now. Just text TRUTH to 76626. Plus, today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Augusta Precious Metals. Text TRUTH to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom is on. Text the word TRUTH to 76626.
Standard text and data rates may apply.
Attention travelers. If you need a hotel reservation, call the hotel hotline right now. Whether it's business or pleasure, we can get you the absolute best deals on hotels all across the globe. Did you know most major hotel chains offer discounted rooms if you know how to find them? We have access to all those deals. And when you call us right now, there's never a time to wait. You won't be talking to a machine. You'll be talking to a real human that can get you the best hotel and vacation deals in minutes. Don't waste your time searching. Pick up the phone and call to get the best deals on hotels and resorts.
Call 800-614-7180, 800-614-7180.
And if you call right now, we will give you $25 off today's reservation. So for your hotel reservations, call the hotel hotline right now.
Call 800-614-7180. That's 800-614-7180.
Despite overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans, time is running out for Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act, which will keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Janae's Tropicals is your one-stop shop for fruit trees, exotic tropical plants and palms, citrus, and more. Join Janae every Saturday morning at 9:30 as she shares more than 24 years of horticultural experience and hosts other Green Thumb experts to give you free gardening advice. Janae will teach you to live off the land and love it. Visit Janae online at tropicalfruit.com.
Listen to Janae's Tropicals, Saturdays at 9:30 and again at 5:30 on Faith Talk Tampa.
Remember your people, remember your children.
Welcome back. This is Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. And make sure you're tuning in for the 4 o'clock hour. Our guest will be local CPA extraordinaire Dwayne Bischoff will be joining us in the studio to answer all your tax questions. And in between, we'll be answering or talking different tax and legal issues, and as those two worlds collide, how we sort of work together on a day-to-day basis. Dwayne and I are working on a lot of cases together, so thought the listeners could benefit from that dialogue as well as call in with their tax questions. And again, I'm joined by Senator Jay Collins, our excellent state senator representing Florida's 14th district, who was kind enough to take time away from his family to be a guest on the show and talk to us about his Warrior Initiative, some of his legislation that he's passed over this past session. If you have a question for Senator Collins or myself, Attorney Patrick Smith, again, my show regularly heard Saturday morning, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. We'll be with you live in studio, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. So you can give us a call now with your legal question or question for Senator Collins, and he will be happy to give you the best answer that we can live over the air. So, Jay, we talked about the last legislative session and just sort of the amazing success that it was, and you mentioned wanting to one day get back to your family. So, have you had that conversation about how long you want to stay in politics before you transition to the next thing, or is that something that you really haven't had that conversation with your wife yet?
Honestly, it's going to be one of those things that we have a kind of a set determined amount of years. But as a family, if we reach the point where towards the end of the term, it's just too much, and as a family, we've got to do something else, well, we're gonna focus on our family and we'll step away.
Yeah.
But in the end, we've got a kind of a predetermined set approach to this between this, and if we ever decide to do something beyond this, there's still a set amount of years, and then I think it's time to walk away and get back to life.
Well, I did the same thing. I walked away from radio for several years. When William, my son, who's 18 now, when he was much younger, I had a mentor of mine who gave me an example of a sailing ship that was 1 degree off course. He said, if it's a degree off course, 2 days into the trip, that doesn't really make much of a difference. But 2 months into the trip, that degree represents, hundreds of miles off course. And so I decided to take Fridays off and stop doing the Saturday morning radio show over in the Orlando markets. And I have no regrets about that. And now that he's older, we're back to doing the radio thing and enjoying that. But, Christy and I are having those conversations about, whenever you stop practicing law. I had a client share with me, he says, retirement is not sitting at home doing nothing. He said, it's, 30 or 40 years of doing something else. So what's that something else you want to do? And that's the tough thing to decide, is sort of what's next. I mean, your kids, and what are the ages of your kids?
So my boys are 9 and 12. And one of the things that I love about this is they're getting a firsthand education in politics. They're seeing everything personally. They're out there. We take them with us. I think as a dad, one of our prime responsibilities is to prepare them for whatever's next.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think we have to step into the breach. We have to solve the problems we can now, so our kids don't have to fight the problems we could have solved. But we got to prepare them for what comes next. And I think one of the things I love about this is that they see it. They take part in it. They go to sessions. They come up there and they meet people at all the events. They meet people at rallies, and they understand the dynamics and the value of grassroots politics. So at 9 and 12, they are so far ahead of anything I even knew was possible, frankly. And I hope, as a dad, we're preparing them for whatever they want to do in their lives. And I'm excited. And you mentioned something that I think is pretty important. What's next?
Yeah.
I think it's family, it's community, and it's continuing to serve in whatever way possible. We have an opportunity to make a difference and live our life one time.
Well,
that's it.
And, as a practicing estate planning attorney, I get the opportunity to sit across, and I've talked about this on my show numerous times. I sit across from more 90-year-olds than probably anyone else in the state, other than maybe a physician. And when I do that, I ask them a couple of questions. I say, number one, what's the most important thing you've learned in your 90 plus years? And the answer is consistently the same. In 99% of the cases, they say, just be kind to people. And then I ask a follow-up question. I say, if you could get a message back in time, and I always make it my age. I say, if you could get a message back in time to 42-year-old you, what would that message be and why? And again, with scary degree of accuracy, the answer is the same. It's, don't worry about anything, because it all works out just fine. And I find that when the takeaway, and I was sharing this with a buddy of mine, a good dear friend of mine recently, who was going through something, and I said, look, here's what I do know. And I ask all these 90-year-olds, they say the most important thing in life is being kind and not worrying about stuff because it all works out. He said, do you think they're right? I said, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if they're right. I said, but I'll tell you this. I'd be surprised if that many people with 9+ decades of experience were wrong. And I think that, whatever we move into, we feel this pressure to move into something else. But when you realize the focus is being kind and not worrying about it because it all works out, the pressure sort of comes off you. And then everything sort of comes into focus, what you're supposed to do next. I think too many times, at least for me personally, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Jay, but it's like too many times, like you just feel this pressure to do a particular something when really it's pretty simple. It's just, like you said, it's family. It's raising your family and spending time with your family. It's a simple assignment, but it's easy to miss the simple assignments because we as humans want to make it difficult and complex.
Well, that's an interesting thing. So one of the things that I talk about in one of the questions I've been asked by people as they look at stepping into politics is, what do I do? How do I start? Or as people are transitioning in the military career, I often get asked, like, what is my purpose? What am I going to do? It's very simple. I didn't fight or be in the military because I wanted to pick a fight or I wanted to travel around the world and, fight our nation's battles. I did it because I believe in protecting and preserving our Constitution. I believe in protecting and preserving our community. And I believe in protecting and preserving the things I love, our family, our friends, all of those pieces. Nothing changes. The focus is the same. You just do it from a new approach. That's all it is. The purpose remains no matter what we do. And if you keep yourself grounded and you have your moral compass, your faith, your family behind you, The rest of it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And that's all we're talking about. It's a very stoic mindset.
Yeah.
Control what you can.
That's Senator Jay Collins, our state senator for Florida's 14th district, and I'm Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. Normally, you hear me Saturday mornings, 8 a.m., the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. If you have a legal question, call in now. If you have a question for Senator Collins, we're both here and available, and Senator Collins has made himself available to answer your questions. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now. We're live and local. Happy to help in any way possible. And, I think it's one of those take-home lessons is I don't think anyone ever served in public office, Jay, and regretted it. I mean, you may have some regrets about things that happened while you were serving, and I'm sure, every politician has those stories that, for Reagan, it was that the balanced budget. I mean, there were certain Social Security battles he had to fight, but every great politician has those regrets, but I don't think any of them ever regretted serving. And I have a father who was also a veteran, and he served this nation with the 127 Wolfhounds of the 25th Infantry in Vietnam. And what I love about my dad is every time I call him on Memorial Day or Father's Day or Veterans Day, and I say, "Hey, Dad, thank you for your service," he says the same thing every time, Jay. And it just warms my heart to hear him say, "I'd do it all over again." And
100%.
I feel like that is a theme in veterans. And I feel like that's another commonality between our veterans and our public servants is this desire to serve and zero regrets about the service that they put in for our nation.
That's right. No, there are none. To your point, there are absolutely things that I went through that weren't really awesome at the time. I mean, I got shot. I got blown up. I lost a leg. I did surgery on myself in combat. All things that weren't great at the time, but in the end, they helped form me into who I am. So how could I actually regret any of those things functionally? They were just bumps in the road. I think it's important to have perspective on both sides of this discussion. The bad is never quite as bad as we think it is, and the good is never quite as perfect as we think it is at the time. Balanced waters, keep your eyes on the horizon, and keep your moral compass pointed the right direction, and things will be okay. And I am so grateful to have served beside people that, frankly, I'm in awe of still.
Well,
some of those, unfortunately, have buried, and others are still serving.
Well, and you mentioned it, and when someone will call Dad a hero, and you certainly have earned that title, but when someone calls Dad a hero, he says, no, the heroes are still over there. He said, I was one of the lucky ones. I got to come home. And, he tells stories about that where the mental toughness. And I think that's probably one of the things that I admire most about our military. And I think that would transition brilliantly to public service and public office, that mental toughness. I mean, Dad tells stories about, being pinned down in a rice paddy by the VC and then, basically having his nose and his mouth above the waterline and nothing else while he's watching tracer rounds, lick through the rice leaves above his head. And that ability to do that and to be pinned down for like 24 hours, I think he said, it's just the mental toughness to stay positive and not give up in that scenario. To bring that mentality to public office, it could revolutionize the way public office operates.
Yeah, Patrick, I think that's exactly it. That perspective matters, right?
Yeah.
Our nation has ups and downs, and let's look at the long haul on this and just keep grinding this out. There is no other nation quite like ours, and this experiment that we call America, the constitutional republic that our founding fathers created, it was, it is, and it always will be worth fighting for. And I think that something we have to remember is on the 4th of July, we celebrate America, we see fireworks, we talk about how much we love this nation. We need to continue that the other 364 days of the year. It's okay to love our country.
Yeah.
It's okay to be grateful for the things we have because, friends, man, there is no other place that I would rather be, to have the opportunity to live in, to be a citizen of. America is unlike any other place, and we are so blessed in comparison to every other nation on this earth.
Well,
we better defend it.
Like you said at the top of the show, I mean, not perfect, but definitely without question, unequivocally the best one going. So we're coming up on our last break. Now, our next segment will be our last segment with Senator Jay Collins. And then after that, Jay, we'll let you go. I know you got some obligations you have to fulfill. One more segment coming up with Senator Jay Collins representing Florida's 14th district in our state Senate. And Jay, I'll go ahead and tell you what I want to talk about in that final segment is sort of what you're looking forward to in our next legislative session. So I'll go ahead and let you start thinking about that. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, and I am filling in for Bill Bunkley. If you want to reach me at my law office during the week, if you have a legal question or if you need a complimentary estate planning consultation, you can reach out to my office anytime. There is one toll-free number to reach out to my office line. That is 844-PATRICK, 844-PATRICK. And that is your toll-free line to reach out to my office if you have legal questions or want to schedule a complimentary estate planning consultation. 844-728-7425. 844-728-7425. And we will be back with you shortly. This is attorney Patrick Smith, and you normally hear me Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. You'll hear me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. But we will be with you for the next couple hours. And don't forget, 4 o'clock hour, our special guest, Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. Everybody stay tuned.
Singing, oh, God, show me what matters. Throw away what I'm chasing after. 'Cause I don't wanna miss what you
My name is Brian Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax.
We started our company 10 years ago in an effort to help our fellow Christians experiencing tax issues resolve their matters by taking a simple 3-step approach.
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys that specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results. We're also a small firm who will treat you like family, not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
Proverbs 15:22 says, plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
What if I told you that you could start relieving your joint discomfort in just a few days? You'd have every right to be skeptical, especially if you've been disappointed by joint supplements in the past that fail to give you the relief you need. So we're going to prove it to you by sending you a complimentary 2-week sample of fast-acting Instaflex, the #1 selling joint supplement at GNC. Instaflex is #1 at GNC because it can start relieving your joint discomfort in just a few days. And right now, we're offering adults a complimentary 2-week sample as part of a nationwide giveaway. Call and claim your sample today. 1-800-608-9926. Fast-acting Instaflex is great for your knees, hands, even your hips, and it starts relieving your discomfort in just a few days. Instaflex is available at GNC, Rite Aid Pharmacies, and Vitamin World, but you can only get your complimentary 2-week sample by calling 1-800-608-9926. Call now for your 2-week Instaflex sample. 1-800-608-9926. 1-800-608-9926.
Do you have student loans? Are you worried about making your payments? Don't worry, we can help you. If you're behind, if you're late, or even if you're in default on your student loans, we can help cut your payments right away. We provide student loan relief, getting you relief from your student loans fast. We'll stop any harassing phone calls, stop any wage garnishments, and even remove any tax liens. No matter how much you owe or how far behind you are on payments, call our established student aid toll-free assistance line right now at 800-390-2930. We can fix your student loan problems guaranteed. That's right, we guarantee we'll get your student loan out of default and cut your payments right away. Best of all, it's 100% guaranteed. Just call 800-390-2930. We've helped thousands of people just like you fix their student loans. Don't go another day with your loans behind or in default. Our specialists are waiting for your call. Call 800-390-2930. That's 800-390-2930. Again, 800-390-2930.
Hello, this is John Peters, 14th Congressional District candidate for the state of Florida. I am a local business owner. God has blessed me, and I want to give back, and I want to help the community. We have to have term limits so that we don't have people in Congress for years and years and years. It's the swamp. We need to be energy independent. Have you gone to the gas station lately? Have you gotten your homeowner's insurance bill lately? This needs to be addressed. I'm John Peters. I approve this message, paid for by John Peters for Congress Committee.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You got pain, he's a pain taker. If you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom, say.
All righty, welcome back. This is Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. Our final segment with Senator Jay Collins, and at the top of the hour, in our first 4 o'clock segment, we'll have Dwayne Bischoff, CPA extraordinaire, answering all your tax questions. And Senator Collins, I teased it at the top of the end of the last segment, sort of what our conversation was going to be in our final segment here. And that was, what are you looking forward to most during the next session? So, Jay, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I appreciate it, Patrick. When I ran, I wanted to focus on three things: economy, education, and safety and security in our communities. Those three areas remain the same. Now, of course, I'm going to take care of our first responders and our military, those who, frankly, take care of us. Those will always be at the epicenter of it. So I think you're going to see a lot more in terms of our veterans, supporting them, helping draw them to the state to fill gaps in our economy in that model. I think there's more that we have to do to help out our first responders. When you look at the nonprofit model, for every 100 nonprofits we have for our veterans, there's something like 10 for our first responders. We can do more to help protect them and give back to them. They do so much in the community. I'm going to do more in the agriculture sector. You know, there is no magic button. Roughly 50% of our economy is tied to agriculture in some way, shape, or form. We have to continue to stabilize, revitalize, and grow. And something I'm toying with this year is what I would call the Excess Government Reduction Act. I think that I would love to see some sorting in our government. Let's look at how we can better align things to reduce the cost of it, to reduce the draw on full-time employees. I also think that we should go back and look at old statutes as part of that. Anything that doesn't actually make sense, we should probably pull it off the books, because there isn't any need to have volumes upon volumes of law that's irrelevant to what we do today. I think that's something we as legislators should be doing as well.
You mentioned a lot of agricultural potential legislation, so I presume you work closely with Commissioner Simpson?
I do. So I'm the ag chair. I have been for the last 2 years. And no matter what, I'll continue to work in agriculture. So one of the things that we don't talk about a lot outside of certain arenas, I grew up on a farm. My family lost our farm coming out of the 80s. And it was bad economy in the Carter years, a little bit of drought, and we ended up robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and our generational family farm was lost. I don't want to see that happen to any of our farmers here in the state of Florida. Right now, I believe we have 51 dairy farms. About a year ago, there were 53. 5 years before that, there were 105. 5 years before that, there were over 260. We're seeing a degradation in agriculture across the state because of greening and citrus, the freeze that's hindered several things, and a couple of hurricanes that came across this. Our farmers need help, and frankly, they don't complain.
Well,
a very stoic approach.
Well, when you get that legislation ready, I mean, Commissioner Simpson and you both are friends of the show. You guys have open invitations to come back and promote that legislation. And I remember walking down the Avenue of the Americas in New York City when I was, I don't know, William was probably 5-ish, I'm guessing. And Christy and William and I were walking there on a New York City trip. And I saw Senator Bob Graham walking towards us. And I said, Senator Graham. And he goes, boy, you must be from Florida, because no one up here knows who I am. And we talked about his dairy farm days, because I didn't know his family were dairy farmers down in Miami. Now, can you imagine a dairy farm in Miami?
I know. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
You know, people don't realize how much agriculture is in Hillsborough County.
Yeah.
You know, the east side of it is all strawberry fields. It's absolutely amazing. But we have cattle and some citrus, and there's just so much that goes on. we got to take care of those who feed our nation. Food security is national security, frankly.
Well, you're fighting the good fight, and I know you got some family obligations to get to, Jay. So that's been Senator Jay Collins, our state senator for Florida's 14th district. Now, Jay, we're probably covering your entire constituency, so I'll give you the mic for a few minutes. Any parting words for your constituents?
Well, Patrick, first off, thank you for this. I really appreciate the opportunity. I love being able to come on your show. And I would tell people that you should reach out to my office if you have questions. We can't solve what we don't know. I'm going to do something that, frankly, you probably don't hear a lot. I'm going to give my cell phone out over this radio station. It's 813-576-8068. Again, it is 813-576-8068. Shoot me a text, call, and we'll get back to you. We want to be able to solve what we can. Ultimately, we represent our community, and we want to make the biggest difference we can. I am granted 2 more years in this position, God willing, and we're going to continue to work like we got people chasing us, because that's what we should be doing to serve our community.
And you can go ahead and give out Senator Martin's cell phone if you'd like to. It's okay. I gave you permission. I'm just kidding.
I appreciate that.
I'm just kidding. But Jay, no, thank you so much. It's our honor and privilege. Appreciate your kind words. You're welcome back on the show anytime. Enjoy your family time. And again, thank you for all your service to our nation, past, present, and future. Jay, we appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. Y'all have a blessed weekend. All right.
You too. All righty. You're listening to Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. When we get back, Dwayne Bischoff, CPA extraordinaire, talking about new beneficial ownership information requirements for small businesses, answering all your tax questions. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, and I'll be answering all your legal questions. And you'll hear me tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. during my regularly scheduled broadcast, the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. But call in now with your legal question, 877-943-9673. Stay tuned. We'll be right with you after these brief messages.
Like a tide, it is rising up deep inside a current that moves and makes it come alive. Living water.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
WTBN Pinellas Park, WLCC Brandon.
Faith Talk Tampa.
Online at letstalkfaith.com.
Download the Faith Talk Tampa app.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Biden fighting to save his re-election effort as he's holding a rally in Wisconsin and sits down for an ABC television network interview. His every answer sure to be scrutinized for evidence of his competency and fitness to run for office. Hurricane Beryl expected to drench parts of the Texas Gulf Coast in the coming days.
A piece of metal twisting in the wind at a Cancun resort as Hurricane Beryl made landfall in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Power is out in many places. 4 to 8 inches of rain is expected to fall as the storm marches to the west-northwest. National Hurricane Center Director Michael Brennan says Beryl will weaken from crossing land, but will likely regain hurricane strength over the Gulf of Mexico in the coming days.
Heavy rainfall along the northeastern Mexico, lower and middle Texas coast, beginning late Sunday and into Monday.
I'm Jackie Quinn.
Also at SRNnews.com, former Israeli Ambassador Michael Oren warning Hezbollah's continuing attacks on Israel could trigger a regional conflict, and one that could drag in the United States.
For now, it's hypothetical, but very realistic, with Hezbollah pummeling northern Israel with hundreds of rockets every day.
Say one of those rockets quite tragically hits a school
it's an army base, kills a great number of children or soldiers.
Oren says the Israeli response and the ensuing escalation could easily reach U.S. naval and shipping vessels.
By a drone, and then the United States would be in the conflagration as well.
Meaning a conflict neither the U.S. nor Israel wants could be one rocket strike away.
We're dealing with a war that could break out not just any day, but any moment.
Bob Agnew reporting.
The Dow had 48 points and the NASDAQ up 167 now. This is SRN News. America's medical system is making war on people with Down syndrome.
It's well known that if prenatal testing indicates an unborn baby has Down, the doctor will almost certainly advise the mother to have an abortion, and in most cases, she will. But now research out of Harvard Medical School reveals that during the pandemic, people with Down syndrome who became sick were 6 times more likely than ordinary patients to have a do not resuscitate order applied to them. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
Voters in 5 states will now decide referendums on abortion this year, with potentially more to come. Colorado, Florida, Maryland, Nevada, and South Dakota will hold referendums on enshrining abortion in their state constitutions. Meanwhile, organizers in Arizona and Nebraska have turned in more than enough signatures to put abortion-related ballot questions before voters in November's election. This is SRN News. Rail cars carrying hazardous materials have derailed and burst into flames in a remote area of North Dakota. No one was hurt. 29 cars of a CPKC train derailed near the town of Borderlac, which has about 20 residents. 2 shark attacks reported at South Padre Island in Texas.
Texas Parks and Wildlife says 2 people were hospitalized after shark attacks at South Padre Island on July 4th. 2 others encountered the shark but were not seriously hurt.
I started swimming towards him, and then he jumped up out of the water saying, "Shark, shark, shark."
Rainer Cardenas tells KRGV his son-in-law was the first victim and received a severe bite as they swam near Blackbeard's restaurant.
Adrenaline kicked in, and I went right after him.
Brian McDaniel of New Brunsville says he saw the response to the first attack.
I saw everyone running towards this guy, and I went out there too, and this guy was getting pulled out of the water with a big shark bite.
I'm Jennifer King.
More details at srnnews.com. I'm John Scott.
For anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Nowadays, $20 barely gets you a burger and fries, or maybe a quarter tank of gas. You know what it will get you, though? For just $20 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of 5G data from Pure Talk. You get the same 5G network as one of the legacy providers, but at half the price with Pure Talk. Plus, dial pound 250 and say keyword spend less to save an additional 50% off your first month. Make the switch today so you can actually afford that burger and fries. Dial pound 250 and say keyword spend less.
All righty, welcome back. Hour 2 of the Bill Bunkley Show, but minus Bill Bunkley. You get Attorney Patrick Smith instead. Normally heard Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm with you today for Bill's 3 hours. We're taking all your legal questions and discussing whatever else I want to talk about in between. If you have a legal question for us, give us a call now. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Special thank you to Senator Jay Collins for being with us the last hour, Florida State Senator for District 14 right here in Tampa. And I was a little disappointed in the SRN news that got reported. And Gabriel, are all the stations, they're getting the same news feed also? Okay, so everyone heard that. Was anyone else disappointed that when they did the shark bite interviews, they said it was right outside of Blackbeard's restaurant? Wouldn't you want to interview Blackbeard? I mean, I could just hear them. I mean, at least you could make a little levity of that situation. I mean, yeah, I get the shark bite, but like, interviewing the kid's dad. Like, I don't know, like, let's let him go be with his son. We don't need to interview him necessarily, do we? Goodness gracious. 877-943-9673. What do I know? I'm a lawyer, not a reporter. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. I'm attorney Patrick Smith. If you want your complimentary estate planning consultation with yours truly at our Sun City Center, Sarasota, Clearwater offices, you can call 844-PATRICK, 844-PATRICK, 844-728-7425. That's 844-728-7425. And joining us now, as promised, CPA extraordinaire, the man, the myth, the legend. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, Mr. Dwayne Bischoff. Dwayne, how you doing, buddy?
Great. How you all doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm wondering how long it takes for our conversation to deteriorate into baseball. It seems like every conversation we start off talking about, it could be interpolated terminal reserve values or 1041 deductions or whatever. And then it's all of a sudden, like, I started off with, did you see Wyatt Langford hit for the cycle the other day? So, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about baseball at some point, I'm sure. But last time you were on my show, we had in the queue to go over the new BOI rules regarding beneficial ownership interest, and it's sort of billed as this anti-terrorism legislation. So I guess maybe sort of just the basic lay of the land. What are the new beneficial ownership interest rules?
So with these new rules, basically it's more geared to small business. And as the seminar that I went to, it's supposedly to help the good guys catch the bad guys. That's the idea. So the beneficial ownership interest, or sometimes shortened called BOI, it's for any corporation, LLC, and that is in existence and operating. And they need to file this with the FinCEN. There's a form to file. We were thinking that they maybe back off the create some legislation to back off the filing requirement, because they've gotten a lot of pushback from it, and they don't really have the ability to handle all these filings, but they haven't so far. So I guess it's onward with this.
It certainly didn't stop the IRS.
No. So that's who's going to have to probably handle most of this. And they don't have the ability to do it.
Are they still like 28 million documents behind or something?
They're not that many, but they're about 3 million ERC filings behind.
That's all. Wow.
Yes.
What improvement.
But for those of you who have ERC filings that are you're waiting for your refunds. But the BOI filing is basically, it needs to be done if you were incorporated or created prior to 1/1 of 24. You have until 12/31 of 24 to file this, and it basically, you have to name, address, some kind of ID to prove who you are. And if you have multiple companies, what you can do is file for yourself, and then you get this ID number and use that for your different filings. And it should be relatively easy for people who just solely own their companies to file, or have two partners and file. But it gets more complex if someone is a absentee owner and someone else is running the company, and now are they a beneficial owner even though they are not an actual owner? And that's where the interpretation starts coming in. I believe if you have 30 or more employees, you don't have to file this. I have to double check that. It's been a little bit since I've had it, but that's a publicly traded companies don't have to file this. Again, it's aimed mainly at smaller business filings.
So now you said the requirement, if you're established prior to January 1, 2024, you have until December 31st, 2024 to register your B of I.
Right.
Okay. That being the case, if you're a new business who forms during 2024, is it 90 days?
I believe it's 90 days.
Yeah, it's 90 days to file.
Correct.
So they're really cracking down now.
And the penalties are huge.
Oh, they're massive.
Yeah.
What is the penalty now? Is it
$500 a day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a lot of money. Now there are, on the frequently asked question I'm going to try to make this fun, Dwayne. I'm not sure we can do it, but let's try. If you have a legal question or a question for Dwayne Bischoff regarding taxes, 877-943-9673. You're also welcome to call in with your guess on this game we're about to play. The beneficial ownership information frequently asked questions page has the facts page in 13 different languages. Do you want to guess? See if you can guess the 13 different, because I think we can glean something from this, Dwayne. Clearly, if I'm leaving your language off the list, we're not worried about your jurisdiction or your ethnicity, right?
Right.
So this is basically the list of who we are worried about. That's what I see it as. So there's 13. Do you want to see if you can make any guesses?
Oh, I'm probably terrible at this.
Try.
Let's say Spanish, Italian.
Hold on, one at a time.
Oh.
So you said Spanish, right?
Yep.
You got that right. Spanish is number 2 on the list. And then your second guess was what?
Italian.
Not on the list. No,
Wow.
We're not worried about the Italians.
Chinese.
Yep. Chinese is definitely on the list. Chinese, actually on the list twice. We have Chinese simplified and Chinese traditional. In other words, China, we got our eye on you. We're putting you on the list twice. Out of the 13 languages, you made the list twice. So give you a second ding for getting Chinese twice. All right. So you've got Spanish, you got Chinese simplified, Chinese traditional, Italian, not on the list. Your next guess, Mr. Bischoff.
Japanese.
No, not on the list. Japanese, not on the list. Although I will say, I know all these on the list except one, and I have no idea. We're going to have to Google to see what nation this is. So if you want to call in with your guest, 877-943-9673, which countries or jurisdictions or ethnicities is FinCEN worried about understanding the frequently asked questions? They only put it in 13 languages. We've guessed a few of them. If you want to make your guess, 877-943-9673, or call in with your legal question or your tax question for Mr. Bischoff, Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. And Dwayne, I didn't do a proper introduction for you. Let me do that first. So Dwayne owns Bischoff and Associates.
Yep.
A CPA practice here in Tampa, but you really represent people statewide. And the only CPA I let on my show, because in my opinion, he's the best. And so I was like, well, why would we have anybody else? And so Dwayne represents people with regard to their 1040s, 1041s, 706, 709s. You do 501c3 audits, corporations, small businesses. You pretty much do everything, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can call my office, 813-356-0400, or email me. It's dbb@cpaoftampabay.com.
I give out that number so often I have it memorized. So, all right, you want to guess any other languages before I just rattle off the list?
I'm sure there's some Middle Eastern ones that I don't know what their language is.
Lean into that. Just take a guess.
Some Iraqi?
No, not Iraqi. No. Not on the list. But go with the most popular Middle Eastern one.
Iran? I don't know.
Think 9/11. Arabic.
Okay. Well, see.
All right, so let's just run down the list. Well, Mr. Bischoff, you were a good sport. Let's give you a big round of applause. You did a great job, and we appreciate you playing along. So English, obviously, but actually on the list, Espanol, and then Chinese simplified, Chinese traditional. I'm going to mispronounce this. Geng Yet, which is Vietnamese, Korean, Tagalog, Tagalog. What jurisdiction is that? What is Tagalog? Portuguese, French, Russian. No surprise there. I'm surprised you didn't say Russian. Haitian Creole, Arabic. That was when I said think 9/11. Arabic.
Yeah.
And Hindi. So that's your list of 13 languages for beneficial ownership information, frequently asked questions. So basically make sure you get with your accountant or your business manager and make sure your business is statutorily compliant.
Philippines is Tagalog.
Philippines. So we're keeping our eye on the Philippines as well. So is there any nation that's surprising you that it's not on there? Yeah. There's no Germany. I don't know. I figured we'd I'm just saying, historically speaking, had 2 world wars and they both kind of started there. So I figured, anyway, 877-943-9673. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, filling in for the vacationing Bill Bunkley. And I'm here with my special guest, Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, throughout the state of Florida. And if you have a tax question, you can call in now with your question for Dwayne. A legal question, you can call in either now or tomorrow morning when you'll hear my regularly scheduled show, the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. And that'll be tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. on about 15 stations. It's probably easier to find my show than to not find my show when you turn on the radio tomorrow, because we cover so much of the Central Florida area. 877-943-9673. So, Dwayne, when we come back from this break, and I am getting used to this whole taking a break thing in the middle of the show. Like my show, we go an hour straight through. This is kind of nice. Just chop it up a little bit. When we come back from the break, I want to talk about the importance of using a CPA. I can't tell you how many people I run into and they say, I use EasyFile, or I use one of those, strip mall services. And that's sort of the doc production equivalent from the legal world as far as being a tax professional. So I want to talk about some of those distinctions as opposed to using those pro forma services versus engaging the services of a CPA. So, and get your tax questions ready. Dwayne Bischoff is here, licensed CPA, who will be happy to answer all your tax questions. I'm your local Central Florida attorney, Patrick Smith, with 7 office locations throughout the state to better serve you. And I will be happy to give you your complimentary estate planning consultation at any of our office locations. You can reach out to my office at 844-PATRICK. That's 844-728-7425. 844-728-7425. You can also visit our website, attorneypatricksmith.com, and submit a request directly through the website. You can also email me directly and ask for your appointment, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Patrick at Attorney Patrick Smith. Get all your legal questions ready for me, all your tax questions ready for Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, and we will be right with you after these short commercial messages.
Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe.
Let's see, if something costs less and people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, right? And that is MediShare, an amazing program. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save families up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of typical health insurance plans. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for 30 years, and members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a nationwide PPO network. So yes, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your healthcare. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you want to just plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes and see what you can save. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need, 844-94-BIBLE. That is 844-94-BIBLE, 844-94-BIBLE.
Have you and your spouse moved from soulmates to roommates? Are you searching for ways to rekindle the spark in your marriage? Join Focus on the Family and Salem Media Group for Resist the Drift, a 2-day marriage conference at the Love First Christian Center on October 4th and 5th. Marriage specialists Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley share their journey from struggle to strength. Learn biblically based ideas and practical tools to reignite your relationship. Reserve your spot now at letstalkfaith.com. Yankee Arnold Ministries.
This is Dr. Ralph Yankee Arnold of Yankee Arnold Ministries. I want you to join me for each weekday. There is a new name and new time, but the same clear gospel message. Mark it down. Call a friend. This is Ralph Yankee Arnold. God bless and keep looking up.
Yankee Arnold Ministries. Weeknights at 6 on Faith Talk Tampa.
All right, welcome back as we continue covering for our friend Bill Bunkley. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, joined by Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. And Dwayne, I want to talk a little bit about, we talk about in the estate planning world, people say, well, I can use these online services and get a document generated and, I can do it that way. And they say it's so much more affordable. Number one, I tell them, I say our fees are flat and they're published and what attorneys charge. So that our wills being $75 and the non-tax trust packages being $695, how reasonably priced those are. But a lot of times people still use these sort of what I call strip mall service or tax services. And for some people, that's the right fit. At what point, in your opinion, does someone go from, those pro forma services or easy file to needing the services of a CPA like yourself?
Yeah, basically, when you're talking about a 1040 filing, it's when you go from, if you start a business, you have maybe a couple of rental properties, a rental property. There's some different things that happen. There can be perfect example. We had a client who, the daughter had worked in one of these places. She did his the dad's tax return, and she totally blew it, actually, because she didn't have any idea about what happens when someone passes and a step up in basis and all that, and just left money on the table. We amended the return and getting the $100,000 refund. So those are. So sales of properties that may have been inherited, those are some things, more difficult things. Accounting for a business, a small business, rental properties, those areas. Even if you have some, heavy duty brokerage accounts, they may not handle it properly. Most of them, I think, would, but if there's anything out of the ordinary, they may not. So.
Well, and when I, first started engaging your services, it was in regard to estate administration.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the most precarious spots you can be in is administering someone's estate, because if you agree to be that administrator, whether it's personal representative in a probate or successor trustee in a trust, you're accepting personal liability. You're entering into this agreement with the IRS that you will take on liability yourself for that tax obligation. And one of the smartest things that I think I first saw you do was that 4506T transcript request. And how it goes back, and the statute of limitations is still 3 years. And so you look back those 3 years, and basically you're looking for fraudulent activity or abnormalities in taxes. And I think that's one of the wisest things I learned from you was you could have someone who diligently did their taxes faithfully every year. But fraudsters will go often behind the back of a valid return and file an amended fraudulent return. And it's sort of brilliant in a very bad sort of way, in a various sort of way. But I guess maybe speak to how that applies, how, in a loved one's passing, that being a scenario where, because of that personal liability, engaging the services of CPA basically operates as a great insurance policy to insulate you from that potential liability.
Yeah, because what we typically do is and we ask everybody. Some people don't want, if you're not the personal rep, whatever, we do them for yours. But other people who are referred to us, however way, we ask them if they want that done. Some people say yes, some people say no. We try to explain it to them. It's kind of like an insurance policy, and but basically we do a compliance check with the IRS, and we get them on the phone, and, here's all our backup documentation to prove we can speak on this topic. And then is there anything outstanding with the IRS and nobody knows about? Is there any unfiled returns? Is, anything like that? And then if there is, we end up pulling transcripts and, trying to, or finding out how much is owed. So you can let hey, yeah, there is a problem. There is some money owed here.
Well, and I don't want to seem like we're bad-mouthing the IRS, although I don't know a lot of people would care, but I don't really want to bad-mouth any governmental agency. But I do want to speak about sort of that backlog we talked to during the last segment.
Mm-hmm.
When you call the IRS, one of my biggest frustrations are what I call bank trips, when I have to go to the bank and on estate business, and I start a timer to see how long. Yeah. I mean, I think the shortest one I ever had was an hour. I think the longest was like 4.5 hours. And so my bank trip for you, the equivalent is calling the IRS. What would you say, assuming, because let's be clear, sometimes you call and you don't get through at all.
Right.
It's just
They say call back another day.
call back another day. Not going to happen today. So there's that. But on the times you do get through, how long's the average wait before you get to talk to an actual IRS agent?
So if I'm just calling them directly with the numbers that you find on, that we have
right
for practitioners help, it can be, depending on, it can be 15 minutes to an hour and a half. I have a service I pay for to cut the line, and it still can be, it's been a lot better, to be honest with you. It's been a lot better about the last 3 months. So they must have been doing some hiring, because my wait's about 15 minutes where it used to always be 45. That's cutting a line, 45 minutes,
Well,
so
you have 2 Lyns at your office. Maybe we should
Yes.
take one of the Lyns and get them hired by the IRS just so they could be our personal. I got a feeling that might be a felony, so maybe we don't do that. Anyway, I'm just thinking out loud. 877-943-9673. That's Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. And I'm attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley. And you can call in now with your legal or your tax question, or maybe you just have a comment. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. So I'm not going to touch the third rail. I don't want to get into politics, but I do want to ask you a tax question as it relates to the upcoming presidential election. I don't want you to answer now. I'm going to tease it for the next segment, but a lot of people out there, some people vote based on, civil issues, civil rights issues. Some people vote on social issues. Maybe it's women's rights this election. That's a really hot topic. But a lot of people out there vote using their pocketbook. And, presidents have very different philosophies, especially the ones who are billionaires versus the one who aren't billionaires. And at the same time, have billionaire friends. But at the end of the day, they have very different visions for the tax code going forward. And some of them want to phase taxes out. Some of them want to increase taxes. And I want to talk to you about that a little bit, about sort of what's on the line with, not necessarily a particular candidate, but just with the sort of a Republican Democrat approach versus, who wins, what we're likely to see for those people out there who weigh taxes, which is, I certainly look at it as a factor. I mean, I look and see, how is the tax bracket going to shift or going to change based on the presidency. And I remember being genuinely scared when Bernie Sanders was running. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I think it was like 70% for the top income earners was what he had. I mean, we haven't seen that for decades. So, but anyway, we'll talk to Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, about kind of the implications for the upcoming presidential election with regard to our tax code next. 877-943, call in with your legal question. Sorry, that's 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. I'm your fill-in host, attorney Patrick Smith. We'll be right back.
W282CI Tampa, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com.
Or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Barrel battering Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula after hitting near the resort town of Tulum as officials in Texas urge coastal residents to prepare as the storm moves toward the Gulf of Mexico. Barrel hit Mexico as a Category 2 hurricane, but weakened to a tropical storm as it moved across the peninsula. Barrel forecast to head toward northern Mexico near the Texas border. Some Texas counties already issuing voluntary evacuation orders in low-lying areas. 2 people killed, 3 others injured in Independence Day violence in Southern California. It happened in Huntington Beach. They have arrested a suspect. His name has not been released. On Wall Street, the Dow had 38 points, the NASDAQ adding 163. This is SRN News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-568-2790. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-568-2790. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-568-2790, 800-568-2790, or biglou.com.
Despite overwhelming support from Democrats and Republicans, time is running out for Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act, which will keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
If you're within 10 years of retirement or already retired and you seek biblically based sound financial principles, we have the show for you. Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Andrew and Daniel teach people how to retire and stay retired because an educated retiree is a happy and stress-free retiree. Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Listen Saturday afternoons at 2, right here on Faith Talk Tampa.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited.
They do not give up until you pay.
They put a lien on my house.
How about you? Do you owe back taxes? Call Tax Solutions now and get some help. For a limited time, the IRS offers a tax forgiveness program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Our team can make it easier for you to pay back taxes, avoid tax liens, and get a fresh start. Sometimes you just need a second chance.
I call Tax Solutions now, and they got the IRS off my back.
At Tax Solutions Now, our affiliates are all accredited by the Better Business Bureau and members of the National Association of Tax Professionals.
We saved our home and overcame the most powerful collection agency in the world.
Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now. Call 800-355-3469. 800-355-3469. 800-355-3469.
I know that you are good. I know that you are kind. I know that you are so much more than what I leave behind.
And welcome back. Attorney Patrick Smith filling in for Bill Bunkley, joined by my special guest, Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. Dwayne, as we exited the last segment, I sort of teased the fact that I wanted to get your thoughts on not so much a Trump versus Biden thing, but more Republican versus Democrat. Who wins? How does it affect the future tax policies moving forward? So first of all, I guess, should a Democrat win the election, how do you see the tax policies of the United States shifting or maintaining this status quo?
Well, I think the area that would happen is the Trump tax cuts are starting to sunset now, and they will continue to sunset. I would think they're going to look to put pressure on anybody, who makes more than $400,000. That's their number. I think saying that it's only limited to people who make more than $400,000 isn't right, because I think they're putting a lot of pressure on small business as well.
But that's household income too. So if it's a husband and wife who make more than 400,
correct,
they're taxing them accordingly. And it is sort of arbitrary. Why 400,000?
Right. I don't know. I guess that's his definition of rich. I don't know. So where I think on the Republican side, I think it's going to be, the more favorable. And the other thing they're trying to do is, jack up taxes on capital gains, trying to jack up, where they talked about putting taxes on unrealized capital gains, which I don't know how you would even try to do that. That's it changes every day. I don't know how they would do that, but that's what he's talking about doing. I think if it went to the Republican control of it, I think there's going to be more business incentives to grow business, which will grow jobs, kind of what they've done in the past. And so I think that's how that goes. I think the middle income people would probably be the same or maybe benefit from that.
All right, that's Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. If you have a tax question for Dwayne, 877-943-9673. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, filling in for Bill Bunkley. If you have a legal question, give us a call now, 877-943-9673. And while you were answering, Dwayne, I looked it up just to confirm. The president's salary is, in fact, $400,000.
Okay.
So maybe that, he says, all right, we'll draw the line. All right. There. So if it's more than 400,000, plus they get a $50,000 expense account, apparently. So maybe that has something to do with it. Now, I heard something about President Trump possibly instituting a program where the estate tax goes away. But as a compromise with the Democrats, they would take away step up in capital gains. So if we get rid of the estate tax, first of all, right now the estate tax exemption is like $13.6 million. Let's agree. That applies to like less than 0.1% of the nation.
Right.
So getting rid of the estate tax, not exactly helping the middle class. It's helping the wealthiest of the wealthy.
Correct.
And capital gains and that step up in basis getting abolished, that's going to hit the middle class extremely hard. So I don't know how likely that is because, it's this odd connection between the middle class and the current Republican nominee. But I think that it's, when you look at that policy, if that is in fact true and that winds up being promulgated as an agenda item for him, that could be problematic because they're not going to care about the estate tax. But when you take away their step up in capital gains, they're going to care about that. So if you have a legal question, give us a call now. I'm attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673. Again, attorney Patrick Smith, normally heard Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. And you will hear me tomorrow morning on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show here on all the stations you're listening on, and a lot more will be joining us tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. The Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm joined now by Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. We're going to go to our next caller. Let's go to Walt, who has a question about taxes. Walt, welcome to the Bill Bunkley Show as hosted by the Attorney Patrick Smith. How can I help you today?
Hello, Patrick. Yeah, I'm used to hearing it on Saturday morning, kind of like a wake-up music.
I know. Is it throwing off your paradigm right now, hearing me on a Friday afternoon, Walt?
No. This is like a double-dip ice cream cone. You get to
You're very kind, Walt. I appreciate your kind words. What's your question?
Thank you. Well, here's the thing. I have rental property, and the tenant left, and I've been putting on my 1040 taxes. I won't be able to have it fixed for about a year. And what I need to know is all the taxes and expenses and upkeep and maintenance that I pay when the tenant's there. I understand it's 100% deductible against the income. But if I have a period where it's fellow, let's say a whole tax year, where I've done painting and I've done remodeling and on and on and on, and the taxes are expensive, they're about $10,000 a year. Can I deduct that in a year I don't have the income?
Dwayne, go ahead.
Yeah, we do. I believe so. We do that. As long as it's not a, something that you're using personally, it's a true rental property that you're renting it for, 12 months of a year, and someone's been there, they left, you're doing improvements and whatever. Yeah, the expenses of holding that, we take that as expenses as for rental property.
Oh, Walt, I have a follow-up question for you. So you mentioned it won't be ready for this was like scheduled, or this was sort of cosmetic maintenance, or did they damage the property in some way?
Well, here's the thing. The property's in Chicago and I'm down here in Lakewood Ranch. And for me to get up there and to, coordinate everybody, I've had people come in and estimate it for painting. Mm-hmm. I had somebody do some work on the roof. I had other things. But the biggest hit on the property is the real estate tax, about $10,000 a year. So, I want to be sure, and plus I've talked to an agent to manage it because we've always, the tenant was there 10 to 15 years. So we never really had a problem. I never had to worry about having a management company, but now it seems because of the distance and the aggravation, it's just better for me to pay the small fee to the management company once I get it, all ready for occupancy. But by and large, yeah, they tore it up. They tore up the floor, the carpeting, the cabinets are hanging down. They look like people use them as jumping jacks and stuff. And and I understand that, and I can't charge them against the security deposit because it's inadequate. They've done more than the amount of security deposit damage.
Right.
But it's just a matter of the real estate taxes are the killer up in Illinois. I mean, it's $10,000 a year, and without a rental income, and the income we were getting, the rent was pretty much fixed for 10 years. It's around $1,600 a month for 10 years, and now the comparable rents are $2,400-$2,500. So, the paint job alone is $7,000. So I'm trying to get everything together, but I'm trying to see it because I haven't filed yet the taxes for last year because I said, geez, this is, I don't want to get audited or something and say, hey, how come suddenly you got a big loss?
Yeah, an audit's not the end of the world. It's the indictment you want to stay away from. That's the bad news. So,
well, considering the $80 billion they've thrown to the IRS agents and they require them to carry guns, I don't know how desperate they are or what they want to do. And it's a pain, because I used to have an accountant in Illinois do the taxes, but they wouldn't do the stuff via mail. So I found out that, I could copy their figures and throw it into Free Tax Act. And, it was pretty cut and dried. The depreciation percentages, where the stuff goes on the Schedule E and everything. That's
what did you do for a living, Walt?
I was a management consultant.
It shows because you have a vocabulary about these things. Your lexicon is beyond average on this. So,
well, that's what the doctor told me too. I said, when I start starting like the mortician, then you have problems.
That's funny. Hey, you said you're from Lakewood Ranch. Do you know who Patricia from Lakewood Ranch is from my show?
No. I'm kind of in the north end. I'm by Lakewood Ranch Road and 64. So most Lakewood Ranch proper is pretty much straight south and east of us.
Okay, yeah, our office is right there off University, so not too far from where you are.
Oh, okay. Well, you're probably in Sarasota County.
Yeah, we're right over the line. That's right. So if you need anything, Walt, we'll be happy to help you. But appreciate your kind words about the show and thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
All righty, well, have a great day. Alrighty, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now if you have a legal question for me or a tax question like Walt did for Dwayne. And it's great to get tax questions like that are real world. I meant to ask him north side or south side of Chicago. And it's one of those things where people, that's a great demonstration of any legal question that would have sort of originated from that Chicago rental would have been a question of Illinois state law, but his question to you was a federal law. So you can sort of speak to that for anyone in any of the states. Now, the bear trap is some of these states have income tax at the state level, and we've both seen accountants make that mistake where they sort of do a return for, say, a New York State resident, and they don't know New York State rules, and there can be some bear traps there.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations where you also want to check with someone in the local jurisdiction about state level taxation if you do have property or tax issues in another jurisdiction. So if you have a question, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, filling in for Bill Bunkley, and we will be back with you live tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for my show. If you want to reach out to my office, 844-PATRICK, that toll-free office line to schedule your complimentary consultation or to book us to come out and speak to your club, group, or organization. A lot of you reaching out for that. We have several coming up. I'll announce them as we get a little bit closer to those dates and the venues. I mentioned it last week on my show, a great presentation up at the Plantation. A wonderful local realtor up there by the name of Robin Wright put that together, and we had a fantastic turnout. So if you have a club, group, organization that needs a speaker on a particular legal topic, we'll be happy to come out and speak to your club or group. So you can call this toll-free number to reach out to our office to book us to come and speak or if you want to schedule your complimentary estate planning consultation, that number, 844-PATRICK, which is 844-728-7425, 844-728-7425. You can give us a call, and that's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Dwayne, when we come back from this next break, I want to talk about sort of the common mistakes. So when you look at someone, when you're doing like a review on someone's return, like common mistakes you see that lay persons make when they're trying to do their own returns. So giving you a heads up on that. I mean, I can, and I'll go back and forth with you on that, on common mistakes I see when people attempt to make their own estate planning documents. And we'll see how similar or dissimilar those common errors are when lay persons try to play CPA versus play lawyer. So if you have a tax question or a legal question, you can call in now, live and local. It's just as easy as Walt made it look. Open phone lines will get you queued up and on the air live. 877-943-9673. So if you're down in Sarasota, if you're over in Clearwater, or anywhere in between, you can call in on one toll-free line with your legal or tax question, and we got you covered between Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, and yours truly, Attorney Patrick Smith. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Dwayne, quickly, your office line if people want to get in touch with you during the week.
Yeah, 813-356-0400.
All right, that's Dwayne Bischoff. He and I will be back with you on the other side of this break, so everyone stay tuned. Again, this is Attorney Patrick Smith, guest hosting for the vacationing Bill Bunkley. We will be right back after these short messages.
I don't know where or how, just take me to your leader now. Take me to your leader now.
This is a red alert for hardworking Americans who are tired of seeing their freedoms and retirement savings threatened by the globalist agenda. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to find whistleblowers who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 election storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in the crosshairs. That's why we've compiled our 3 favorite ideas into our Election Protection Report. You definitely won't hear any of these in the mainstream news. Get your free copy of our Election Protection Report now. Just text TRUTH to 76626. Plus, today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Augusta Precious Metals. Text TRUTH to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom is on. Text the word TRUTH to 76626.
Standard text and data rates may apply.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-296-1564. 800-296-1564. 800-296-1564. That's 800-296-1564.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
Do you have student loans? If you're behind, if you're late, or even if you're in default on your student loans, we can help cut your payments by up to 50, 75, or even 90%. We provide student loan relief, getting you relief from your student loans fast. No matter how much you owe or how far behind you are on payments, we can fix your student loan problems. Just call 800-643-0718. We've helped thousands of people just like you fix their student loans. Call 800-643-0718. That's 800-643-0718. Again, 800-643-0718.
The Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
55 plus communities. I'm a young guy. Obviously, I'm not looking to buy a house. I just can't wrap my head around how a community can place a rule that you have to be 55 plus.
So I think that when you look at the fact that we can restrict something as precious as voting by age, it doesn't really seem as surprising to me that we can restrict who lives in a private community as much by age.
Listen to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, Saturday mornings at 8 on Faith Talk Radio.
But when my world broke into pieces, you were there faithfully. When I cried out to you, Jesus, you made a way for me.
Alrighty, welcome back to our final segment of our 4 o'clock hour of the Bill Bunkley Show. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, guest hosting for Mr. Bunkley, joined by Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. And Dwayne, as we left the last segment, we were talking about coming back to discuss common mistakes when parties try to do their own returns, and I was going to comment on parties trying to do their own estate planning. So what would you say, from your perspective, are the most common mistakes that lay persons make when they do their own tax returns?
Yeah, so trying to deduct car payments when they're not really deductible. The interest could be deductible if you have a business use for it. Another one common is when they've sold something and they have a loan on it. They think the paying the loan reduces their gain, and that doesn't either. And trying to explain that to them, sometimes can be frustrating. So yeah, the whole depreciation thing, how depreciation works on vehicles and houses and properties and anything, how that worked, depreciation recapture, they have no idea what that is. So those are the typical mileage amounts and, travel and yeah.
When you make a donation to Goodwill,
mm-hmm.
and they give you the gift receipt,
mm-hmm.
they leave the amount blank.
Yep.
So you could really write in any amount. And you and I have had this conversation off the air. There's an amount that below that you're sort of breathing safely. And if you go beyond a certain number, you're begging to get audited. For instance, if you put down 1.2 million, because, we donated a very lovely oil painting by Picasso that
Right.
was damaged. So that's why we were donating. And that's why it was only worth 1.2 million as opposed to $30 million. They're going to look into that. So, but why doesn't Goodwill write in the amount?
Because they don't know what the amount is. They're not valuators, so they can't value what you're giving them. So, but typically with those areas, what I tell people to do
Mhm.
is to put the stuff on your dining room table if you can, and put the clothes in a pile into how many shirts, jeans, sweaters, whatever, and number them. So both Goodwill and Salvation Army have a valuation guide on their websites. If you Google it, it'll tell you what that stuff's worth, and you can add it up. So if you have a picture of the stuff, the receipt, and your little spreadsheet that you do, I did my closet one time. It's $1,300 worth of stuff. And you then you would support any audit. They'd go, okay, nice work, and move on to the next item.
Okay. I like how you did the documentation there.
Yep.
So 877-943-9673. This is Attorney Patrick Smith, guest hosting for Bill Bunkley, joined by Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. So if you have a legal question, that's my bailiwick. Otherwise, if it's a tax question, Mr. Bischoff is here to answer it as a local practicing CPA. 877-943-9673. And we'll be happy to entertain your questions, help you out as best we can. And, it's one of those things where I have heard that art is the new tax loophole, because let's say you buy a piece of art that's not cheap. It's not a Matisse or a Van Gogh or something like that. But let's say you buy something from an artist and the painting's $10,000 and you own it for 18 months. and you sell it or donate it. This is the loophole that I heard, was you donate it to a charity or a museum. They can value that art, and they say, hey, that $10,000 painting is now worth 50. And they take the painting, and you get a credit for a $50,000 donation for a $10,000 piece of art. And if the IRS looks into that and it's discovered that it's truly an independent valuation at $50,000, that's a nice little way to generate some charitable deductions, isn't it?
It is. They're limited. They're not as much as, you can't take as much of a deduct. So when I say that,
they make you take a haircut on this?
No, they don't make you take a haircut. So normally you can deduct 50% of your, up to 50% of your income in deductions if you wanted to. They're limited. And if you have more than that, let's say you had.
Why does it always have to come back to the income? Everything is based on the income. We were talking about an exemption the other day, and I was like, yeah, but it goes back to your income. Why does it all focus on your income?
So
And it seems like that has nothing to do with the charitable donation.
Right. So those are limited to a 30% deduction. Yeah.
So there goes that plan.
So it still work. You can carry it over.
Yeah, I get it. What if the painting went down in value? Can I take the loss? Is that based on income too? You can only take so much of the loss.
It's going to be a personal loss, unless it's deemed an investment as somehow. I don't think you're going to be able to take a loss. Yeah.
They always get you. That's how they get you. All right, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And this has been our final segment of the 4 o'clock hour. Our 5 o'clock hour will be our final hour with you today. So make sure to tune into my show tomorrow, bright and early, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. on about 15 stations here in the Tampa Bay area. And you will be able to hear the Attorney Patrick Smith show live. We will be in studio with you, covering a variety of legal topics, taking all your legal questions. So that show, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, my regularly scheduled broadcast, the Attorney Patrick Smith show. But coming up, we will have our final hour of the Bill Bunkley show, and I'll be guest hosting for that last hour too, and I'll have Dwayne Bischoff with me for that as well. So get all those tax questions ready, all your legal questions ready, and we will be happy to give you the very best legal answers we can live on the air. So that number to call in and be part of today's show, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. This is Attorney Patrick Smith. We will be right back with you after these brief messages from our sponsors. Everybody, please stay tuned.
Surrounded by your glory, one will my heart feel. Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in all of you.
Hello, this is John Peters, 14th Congressional District candidate for the state of Florida. I am a local business owner. God has blessed me, and I want to give back, and I want to help the community. We have to have term limits so that we don't have people in Congress for years and years and years. It's the swamp. We need to be energy independent. Have you gone to the gas station lately? Have you gotten your homeowner's insurance bill lately? This needs to be addressed. I'm John Peters. I approve this message, paid for by John Peters for Congress Committee.
Pastor Greg Laurie presents a great devotional resource for young people, the Ben Born Again New Believers Growth Book.
It takes the basics of the Christian faith, the things that every Christian needs to know, including children, and presents them in a very friendly, entertaining way. Ben Born Again and Yellow Dog are woven throughout, and it will be a blessing to your kids and your grandkids. And I would like to send you one of these for your gift of any size.
Get the Ben Born Again New Believers Growth Book at harvest.org.
WTBN Pinellas Park, WLCC Brandon.
Faith Talk Tampa, online at letstalkfaith.com. Download the Faith Talk Tampa app.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Hurricane Beryl has slammed into Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula near the resort town of Tulum after leaving a trail of destruction and at least 11 dead across the Caribbean. It's now turning its sights upon the Texas Gulf Coast. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick tells KVUE-TV people should start preparing now for a weather emergency, with Beryl expected to drench the state's Gulf Coast early next week.
A serious weather event is coming. We don't know exactly where. Be prepared. We will be prepared. Your local mayors and county judges are being prepared. And stay safe, and God bless everyone.
Beryl is expected to regain strength as a hurricane as it moves back over the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Election ballot drop boxes have been approved in Wisconsin. Correspondent Shelley Adler reports.
The Wisconsin Supreme Court has ruled that officials can place ballot drop boxes around their communities in this fall's election. The decision overturns the court's own ruling 2 years ago, which limited the use of drop boxes in the presidential swing state. The difference has to do with the makeup of the court. Conservatives controlled the state Supreme Court 2 years ago, but in April of last year, the court was flipped to Democratic control. Seeing an opening, Priorities USA, a progressive voter mobilization group, asked the court to revisit the decision a few months ago. I'm Shelley Adler.
The UK has its first change in government in 14 years after the Labour Party won a resounding victory in the general election. It's the Conservative Party's biggest defeat ever. The new government faces huge challenges, including fixing the country's sluggish economic and social malaise, resulting in part from the UK's exit from the European Union, the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and several Conservative Party scandals. This is SRN News. The Biden administration sends mixed messages on transgenderism.
Rachel Levine, the Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services, recently advised an international transgender health organization that there should be no minimum age for children who want sex change operations. This sparked outrage across the U.S., and now the Biden administration is in full damage control mode, issuing a statement saying it does not support sex change operations for anyone under 18. Michael Harrington, SRN News.
Residents of Amarillo, Texas will vote on an abortion travel ban in November. Supporters of the measure gathered more than 6,000 verified signatures to petition for approval of the ordinance and submitted their request to city officials to have it placed on the ballot. Their action came after the Amarillo City Council rejected the proposed policy, which would forbid the use of the city's roads and highways to seek an abortion out of state. This is SRN News. Louisiana must protect the health and safety of incarcerated workers. Correspondent John Scott reports.
The inmates are toiling in the fields of a former slave plantation. U.S. District Judge Brian Jackson says they face substantial risk of injury or death in blistering summer temperatures. He gave the state 7 days to provide a plan to improve conditions at Louisiana State Penitentiary. The state immediately appealed the decision. Men incarcerated at the Louisiana Penitentiary filed a class action lawsuit last year, alleging cruel and unusual punishment and forced labor in the prison's fields. John Scott reporting.
President Joe Biden has canceled a planned speech at Philadelphia at the annual conference of the National Education Association after the union staff announced a strike. It set up picket lines Friday around the Pennsylvania Convention Center in downtown Philadelphia. More details at srnnews.com. I'm Keith Peters.
Do you just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. It's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
What does it take for organizations to triumph? It takes the trust of people like you. And that's why an estimated 14 million givers look for the ECFA seal. Over 2,700 leading ministries across the U.S. display ECFA seal, demonstrating that they live up to biblical standards of financial accountability, responsible governance, and trust. So next time you donate, look for the ECFA seal, a widely recognized symbol of trust. Visit ecfa.org/trust to learn more.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
The following segment was pre-recorded for broadcast at this time.
Christ demands first place. There's no room on the throne of your heart for two gods.
This is the Bill Bunkley Show on Faith Talk Tampa. Online at letstalkfaith.com.
Our rights come from nature and God and not from government.
History will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
Phone lines are open. In Hillsborough, 813-287-5700 or toll free 1-877-943-9673.
As for me and my house, we've already made a decision. We are going to serve the Lord. And that's a decision that every single person here tonight has to make. You either have to decide that you're going to serve the gods of materialism all around you, or the true and the living God.
And now, the president of the Florida Ethics and Religious Liberties Commission. Here's Bill Bunkley.
Not Bill Bunkley. You guys in the production booth there, was that preloaded because you didn't think I would make it? Did you guys think I wouldn't make it? All right, little peek behind the mic. This is my 10th hour in radio in the last 2 days. And I've been asked, and it's out of genuine concern by production. Are you doing okay? Are you okay? Are you going to make it? And you guys come back with that? That you guys are like SRN News, who I feel like's messing with us too, by the way. Did you hear that? The cruel and unusual punishment of having prisoners work in a slave field? Do you not? I mean, the fact that it's in Louisiana and it's Judge Jackson on the case. I mean, my goodness, it's like a made-for-TV movie. How do they not read the optics on these reports before they go to the airwaves with them? Anyway, this is Attorney Patrick Smith, live, not pre-recorded, and joined by Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, and we're talking all things related to taxes and legal issues. And I'm guest hosting for our dear friend Bill Bunkley, who's on vacation and hopefully relaxing and enjoying himself. But yeah, it was a few weeks ago, SRN News, they did some story. And at the end, the lady just goes, this is SRN News. And I was like, my goodness, someone needs to check on this young woman. Like, she does not sound good. So anyway, Dwayne Bischoff's here to answer your tax questions. I'm here, Attorney Patrick Smith, to answer all your legal questions. Don't forget my regularly scheduled show with you tomorrow live, the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, 8 a.m. on about 15 stations throughout the state. So we will be with you back live for my 11th hour of broadcast in 3 days. But I love radio. This is a lot of fun, and I enjoy helping people and helping people. I don't know. It's just sort of what we do. And Dwayne's gracious enough to give us a couple hours of his time to help people. So if you have a tax question or a legal question, reach out now. 877-943-9673. This is our final hour of the Bill Bunkley Show today. So we appreciate you listening for the full 3 hours. And if you have a question, give us a call now. Dwayne, I did say that you shared with us the common mistakes that people make when they do their own tax returns. And I promised to share with you the common mistakes people make when they do their own wills. I had one. This was years ago. But this family rushed into the office and they said, our loved one passed away yesterday. But thankfully, we got the trust in place and had them sign it just in time. And so I'm sort of getting this visual of what this person's final moments on earth were like sign here, the notary's here for a few moments. So they actually did get everything executed properly, signed, witnessed, notarized. And I said, okay, great. Where are the list of the assets that are in the trust? They said, what do you mean? I said, well, so the trust was created, but was anything funded into it? They said, no, we didn't have time. So they basically created a trust, and that was it. And they did no will or no ancillary documents of any kind. So everything wound up going through an intestate probate and going to random heirs at law. And the reason I tell that story is that's a good example of, number one, not waiting to the last minute. And number two, the value of having legal advice, like the value of having good tax advice from a CPA is, it's important to create the trust, but probably equally important is funding the trust properly. Otherwise, you've built the safe and you haven't put anything in it. Right. The other one I like is when people pick personal representatives on the will and they pick convicted felons whose rights haven't been restored. If you're a convicted felon, you can't serve as a personal representative, yeah, there's rules about that kind of stuff. There's also, and this is a good highlight for trustees of a trust, much broader, but again, if you're a felon, you're knocked out. But there's a very narrow test for personal representative. You have to be blood relative, spouse of a blood relative, or related by lineal consanguinity, or a Florida resident. So we had a case where the decedent did their own do-it-yourself will. They had picked their best friend from out in the Midwest, who's not a blood relative, not Florida resident, and they were ineligible to serve as the administrator. So there was they only picked one with no backup. There was no administrator left. So it wound up becoming a vote of the majority of the interest. And so it gets hairy. People don't realize there's rules to picking certain parties. And it's just, I appreciate someone trying to do it. I did have some people do their own documents successfully. And I tell them that. Like I say, look, if your document's fine the way it is, I'll tell you that. We're busy enough doing lots of other cases. I'm not going to try to tell you it's insufficient when it is sufficient, but it's few and far between. I mean, I can count on one hand out of, tens of thousands of clients, the number of times that's happened. But have you ever seen a layperson do a tax return? You look at it and you say, oh yeah, it's perfect. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I had one last year. A new radiologist did his own.
One last year.
Yes, exactly.
Out of how many returns?
1120S.
Yeah.
Out of
how many?
Pretty good job here.
How many returns do you do in a typical tax season?
We do, including everything, about 1,000, 1,100.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I know how hard you work because I get emails from you and text messages from you at all hours of the night. And don't ever stop doing that. Like, it doesn't bother me one bit. Like, I love working on cases like that. And usually I'm staying up late. My mind's spinning on different things. And, it's one of those things where when you move at the pace that we move, when you do stop, at the end of the day, you see the beginning of a lot of good movies, but you don't see the end very often. Like, did you watch the new Beverly Hills Cop movie?
I don't know when the last time I saw a movie at all.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right. You're not a big movie guy. I forgot about that because, we watch baseball together a lot. By the way, we need to go do another Rays game.
Yeah.
That was a blast. I had a good time that day. Who else was there? We had a couple of guys with
Your guy that has the awards, the
Emmys.
Emmys.
My neighbor Bill, he's got 4 or 5 Emmys. I remember the first time I walked into his house, I was like, "Those are cool. Where'd you get those?" He goes, "I won them." And so I thought they were just like imitation Emmys, but no, they're legitimate Emmys. But the best part of that story I love about Bill, he's such a great neighbor. He and his wife Paige, they're just awesome people, and I love them to death. And their kids are amazing too. But one of my great stories about Bill was when he won his last Emmy, apparently you actually have to buy the statue. He didn't want to spend the money on the statue. So he went and bought a dog and named the dog Emmy. And I was like, that is such a great story. I hope he doesn't mind me telling that on the air. But anyway, all right. This is Attorney Patrick Smith. I'm with Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, and we are here answering legal and tax questions, filling in for Mr. Bill Bunkley, 877-943-9673. If you want to schedule your complimentary estate planning consultation with me, if you're interested in our $75 will or our $695 trust packages, those are available. And no, I don't plan on changing my rates anytime soon. And you can reach out to the office at 844-PATRICK, 844-PATRICK. That's 844-728-7425, 844-728-7425. Same number to call to book us to come and speak to your club or group. Check out our website, attorneypatricksmith.com, or email me your questions, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. I love it when we get a lot of emails, Dwayne, and a lot of emails come in during the show. And so normally right after the show on Saturday, that's sort of filling my time before I can, get home and get relaxed. It's email time to answer all the emails because I get a big kick out of someone sending an email message, and I call them right away. If they put a phone number, I email them back right away. But the phone calls are definitely the best. So like, who is this? This is Attorney Patrick Smith. They're like, you're calling me yourself? And I'm like, yeah, you sent me an email. They're like, I didn't expect to get a call from you. And I love that. So, I mean, I'd rather have people that, I had no idea it was going to be you calling me directly. So no, we take that kind of stuff seriously, but your office does too. You guys pride yourself in customer service, and I've been a happy client for years. Gosh, how many years have we been working together now?
I don't know. It's
a long time.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was trying to remember how long Jeff's been with the Yankees, but I think that's about the same amount of time. How long's Matt been in Matt, your oldest son?
Matt
is a scout with the
he's with the
Angels
now.
Organization. So,
he's an international cross-checker. So
one of these underachievers. No, I'm just kidding. International cross-checker is a big deal, folks.
He was with the Blue Jays, I think, 11 or 13 years. He's been with the Angels. I think this is his second or third year.
So international cross-checker, as I understand it, it's like 2 or 3 steps from director of scouting, right?
Yeah.
But it's not far.
No.
And director of scouting is a heart skip and a beat away from assistant GM. And now we're talking. But your other son's still with the Blue Jays organization, correct?
Yep. Yeah, he's a regional cross-checker.
I am so proud of us.
First year.
It took us an hour and 15 minutes before we deteriorated to baseball. I knew it would happen. I'm just so proud it took an hour and 15 minutes before it happened. But you will not meet two guys who love baseball more. And does your wife have a baseball IQ? Does she understand the game?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you her most amazing thing she ever said.
Please,
those Rays, they'll either win or they lose.
So my wife, she portends. She'll say, "Yay, sports balls, do the thing, win the points." But she really does understand baseball.
Yeah,
she understands situational things, and she'll ask me questions about, well, why did they throw over? Why did they even bother pitching to that guy? And I said, well, you pitch to him because first base was open. And if he swings at 4 bad pitches, you only need 3 of them and he strikes out. But if he doesn't swing at them, all he did was walk. I mean, so, but she understands baseball, and, she really gets into it when, like it's Gators postseason, it's super regionals, that kind of stuff. But I get really intense. And, yeah, Omaha. Have you ever been to Omaha?
I have not.
We've got to do that trip.
Yeah.
We've got to do that trip because I'm telling you right now, the people are so nice and so gracious, and somehow we became a sports talk show. But anyway,
if I wasn't doing Alaska in a month, I would have gone with you this year.
Well, you'll have next year. I told Christy, I said I'm putting it on my annual agenda. So unless the roster is just particularly terrible, I'm going to plan on going every year because it's just one of those trips. The people are so nice. That Midwestern charm of Omaha, Nebraska, and everything's first class there. They do a great job. So 2 things in Omaha, Nebraska: Berkshire Hathaway and the College World Series. This is Attorney Patrick Smith pinch hitting for Bill Bunkley, along with Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. Got a couple more segments with you before we wrap up the show. So if you have a legal question, give us a call, 877-943-9673, or give us a call with your tax question. Dwayne Bischoff's here to answer that as well. 877-943-9673. And we've got just a few messages, and we will be on the other side of the break before you know it. So everyone, this is Attorney Patrick Smith. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Crushing every stronghold when I speak your name.
There's an issue cutting through the bipartisan bickering in Congress. It's AM radio. The overwhelming majority of legislators, Democrats and Republicans, support a bill to keep AM radio in cars. But time is running out. Text AM to 52886 and ask Congress to bring this bill to the floor for a vote now. AM radio is too important to let this moment pass us by.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Let's see, if something costs less and people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, right? And that is Medi-Share, an amazing program. Maybe you've heard switching to Medi-Share to pay for healthcare can save families up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for Medi-Share is double that of typical health insurance plans. Double. Medi-Share Works has been around for 30 years, and members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a nationwide PPO network. So yes, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your healthcare. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you want to just plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes and see what you can save. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here is the number you need, 844-94-BIBLE. That is 844-94-BIBLE, 844-94-BIBLE.
They say you're nothing special, that I should look around. But I say you're the greatest friend that I've ever found.
You know, to my dad, his car is a trusted friend. He's kept it running great for over a decade. Guess I'm a chip off the old cylinder block. Well, that's why we both choose to go to Parts Plus Auto Parts stores.
You never let me down, I'll take good care of you.
Hey, for all the reasons you love your car, there's Parts Plus Auto Parts stores.
'Cause I'm just a nobody, trying to tell everybody all about somebody who saved my soul. Ever since you rescued me, you gave my heart a song to sing. I'm living for the world to see, nobody but Jesus.
All righty, we're back. This is Attorney Patrick Smith, along with Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. We're going to check in on some scores. We got 13-3, we got 17-10, and we got 2-1. That last one's a close one. So I'm just kidding. My dad's laughing right now. He gets that joke. He's probably the only one who gets that joke. So, all right, we are here. We are filling in for our buddy Bill Bunkley, and we are with you live. If you want to call in now with your legal question or your tax question, it's Attorney Patrick Smith, your regularly scheduled host of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and honored to be filling in for Mr. Bunkley along with my co-host today, Mr. Dwayne Bischoff. Recap of the show. We started off with Senator Jay Collins calling in, our state senator from District 14, talking about the Warriors Initiative and getting former military involved in public service in the form of running for public office and some of the legislation that he was proud of passing this last legislative session, and looking forward to the next session, particularly focusing on first responders and our military and our law enforcement and protecting those who protect us. We've been talking about all things taxes, including deductions, common layperson errors. We've been talking about estate planning and errors on that side as well. We've talked a little bit about probate and trust administration, Dwayne, and it's a topic that happens all the time because we're all going to pass away and enter eternity eventually, and it's one of those things where we've got to plan accordingly. And I tell people, I say, look, no offense to the actual Trinity, but you need that sort of trinity or triumvirate of professionals in your life. You need your estate planning attorney, you need your CPA, and you need your financial advisor. And I really think that the synergy of all three of those working together is how you protect your family. But here's the thing that I tell my clients. I say, look, if your kids are ever in town, like if they're not local and you feel like it would be helpful to have a meet and greet appointment with me, put it on the calendar. There's no charge. Do 5 or 10 minutes. And just shake their hand. I said, it yields a huge dividend of comfort when the time comes, because now instead of calling the scary lawyer or the unknown entity that is the lawyer, they're calling Patrick. They already know the guy. And I tell them, do the same thing with the CPA or tax professional you work with or the financial advisor, because a lot of people think they're prepared to lose a parent or to lose both parents. I don't think you're ever prepared. And so I think the legacy that the parents give to the kids there is twofold. Number one, you take an unknown entity and you make it known. But number two, you're sort of subconsciously teaching these kids, we work with professionals. Like I hear parents all the time criticize kids and say, well, they're bad with money. And I say to them, did you ever show them how to be good with money? I mean, as parents, that's our job, is to model an example for our children. So I encourage them. I say, bring them into those review meetings with the attorney, with the FA, with the tax professionals. So do you see that at all? When people come in, do they bring the next generation, the kids with them, just so they get that exposure to working with a tax professional?
I had on some cases I do. Every year I have not everybody, but we have some that they bring their daughter. This is my daughter, and she sits in and you're going to be dealing with me, whenever. And so, yeah, we have a few of them that do that. Certainly.
Yeah, I think we need more of that, because I think it's about that sort of how to hand it down. And I love getting the opportunity to represent multiple generations of the same family. And I think that's a great, testimony to that family, passing down that legacy of good stewardship in their planning. So if you have a question about your estate planning or your taxes, 877-943 877-943-9673. If you won't need an appointment with Dwayne Bischoff, you can reach Dwayne's office at 813-356-0400. And Dwayne will be happy to sit down with you, go over all things tax, 813-356-0400. And to schedule an appointment with yours truly, Attorney Patrick Smith, your host of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, Saturdays, right here on Faith Talk. You can call 844-PATRICK, 844-PATRICK. That's 844-728-7425, 844-728-7425. Those of you tuning in just now, you're used to hearing Bill Bunkley at this point. Mr. Bunkley is on vacation, and I, your current pinch hitting host, Attorney Patrick Smith, I'm filling in for Mr. Bunkley, and happy and honored to do so. So if you have a question, 877-943-9673. We're getting our next call queued up. T. Let's go to T. T, how are you today?
I'm hanging in there, Patrick. It's good to hear you at this time. I want to say something right up front. Do you think it's possible that maybe a couple of times a year, if Bill's not there, that you could sub like you're subbing today? Because it's impossible for somebody like me to call you before 9 o'clock because, I'm dealing with a mom with dementia and just a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think there's a lot of folks out there that don't get the opportunity to hear you live. I typically listen to you on Sunday at 5 p.m. on WTBN. So I was just kind of making that request. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year would be awesome.
I have no objection to that. That's not a Patrick decision. That's more that's above my pay grade here at Salem, T. But I, if nothing else, T, whether or not that actually manifests, I cherish the fact that you took time to call in and request it. Great callers like you are why I do my show every Saturday and why I fill in when invited to fill in for Mr. Bunkley. And T, I'm open to it. So if the powers that be extend that invitation, I will gladly accept and make your dreams come true.
Very cool. You're funny. And I do really enjoy your show. So much so that I told Nielsen that I was listening to you every week. So about 2 months ago.
You were that one Nielsen vote we got. That was you. That was great. I knew the guy would call in. So T, I appreciate your call and good luck with your mom. How's she doing?
She's hanging in there. I wanted to just touch base with you, take about a minute to tell you something that really happened to her that was really awful.
I'm coming up on a hard break. So do you want to hold the line and I'll come back to you on the other side of the break?
Yes, please.
All right, T, I'm going to put you on a hold and then I'll close out this segment and we'll come back to you on the other side of the segment. So again, this is Attorney Patrick Smith. I also have Dwayne Bischoff here with us. Dwayne's answering all your tax questions. If you have a tax question, we've got a couple of segments left in the show. When we come back, we're going to kick off the next segment going back to T with his story regarding his mom. And if you have a question, want to get in the queue to ask a legal question or a tax question, we got you covered between myself, Attorney Patrick Smith, and Dwayne Bischoff. We're here co-hosting the show, filling in for Bill Bunkley. You can reach out to get your call in the queue, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. I still think you guys had that set up because you didn't think I would make it. So I'm just messing with you, Joe. 877-943-9673. We will be back with you here after these short messages. So make sure you get in your call. This will be our final 2 segments of the show before we'll be leaving you for a few hours and back with you live tomorrow morning for the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, live here on all your Salem stations and plus a few more. So to get in with your legal or tax question, 877-943-9673. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith, and we'll be right back.
W282CI Tampa, W262CP Bayonet Point.
Online at letstalkfaith.com or listen on TuneIn and Odyssey.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says he will lead a government of service on a mission of national renewal in his first official remarks after his Labour Party swept to power. Conservative leader Rishi Sunak, in a farewell address, took responsibility for the loss. Rail cars carrying hazardous material have derailed and burst into flames. It happened in a remote area of North Dakota. No one was hurt in that derailment. Hurricane Beryl has slammed into Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula near the resort town of Tulum as a Category 2 storm after leaving a trail of destruction and at least 11 dead. Stocks finished higher, the Dow up 67 points, the Nasdaq gained 164, the S&P 500 added 30. This is SRN News.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. Once again, Americans are ready to celebrate the 4th of July. Very ready indeed. But let's remember that the holiday is actually known as Independence Day, marking the anniversary of the act of American patriots in declaring independence from Great Britain. The Declaration of Independence is the nation's birth certificate. More than that, Independence Day marks a momentous event in human history. For the first time, a new nation was established upon the premise that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. For more than 200 years, the United States of America has been learning how to fulfill that promise, but on Independence Day, we celebrate the fact that this world-changing promise was made, and a new nation was born, a nation founded upon liberty, dignity, and self-government. Happy Independence Day. I'm Albert Mohler.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This $99 travel offer is for vacation-minded consumers who see the value in owning a timeshare. If you're the kind of person that loves going to the same destination every year, a timeshare can be perfect for you. And Westgate Resorts is the right company to call. We may have the perfect vacation destination for you. With a timeshare, you own, not rent. The beauty of a timeshare vacation is it's a fixed cost. So with rising costs of vacation travel, at least you know your cost is fixed, and you can take your family for years to the same great place, or you trade weeks if you like. It's like owning a vacation home without owning the headaches. And for just $99, we'll give you 3 days to come check us out. Call Westgate right now.
800-370-6906. 800-370-6906. 800-370-6906. That's 800-370-6906.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows.
By the way, this is Bill's bumper. This is not picked by me. This is the usual Bill Bunkley bumper. I don't dislike it. I'm just giving a full disclaimer. I didn't pick the bumper for today. So 877-943-9673. Would that be considered bumper or rejoiner? What would you call that? A okay, well, whatever. I'm a Saturday morning guy. What do I know? I'm just the guy behind the microphone. 877-943-9673. I'm attorney Patrick Smith along with Dwayne Bischoff. If you have a legal question, give us a call now. 877-943-9673. T, are you still with us? Is T there?
I'm here.
Hey, T, I got you. All right. So before you tell your story, I want to let you know during the break.
Okay.
I reached out to the powers that be. First, I had to identify the power that is that decision maker.
Okay.
and Dwayne Bischoff can bear witness to this. I passed along your request. So it is in the queue. The party responsible for that decision, per your request to have me pop back in a couple times a year, is aware of your request to you. Okay.
Thank you, Pat.
And they're
Thank you,
also aware that you're a regular listener to the show, to not
Oh,
only
yeah, I
my
love
show, but to Bill Bunkley's show as well.
Yep. You bet. I love Bill. Bill's
Well,
a good man. It's a good station. They've got a good ethical and moral value to them, and I wouldn't give them up for the world.
I couldn't agree more with you about Mr. Bunkley. He is a wonderful man, and he is a model radio guy and just a legend in the industry. So, T, you were going to tell a story. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant one. So, are you there? Okay,
We're still here.
Okay, so my mom is in her 90s, and she lived in a coastal community in Rhode Island for the last 30 years of her life. But recently, I got her down here in Sarasota because there's certain medical things that I can get done down here that I can't get done up there. It's a lifetime priority thing for her to keep her alive. Okay, so I probably about a year and a half ago, called the tax assessor's office just to tell them, could you please send me the tax bill for my mom? And they were like, yeah, sure, okay. So I spoke to the deputy tax collector. Never asked me any questions about, well, is your mom still living? None of that stuff. I get the first tax bill for this year, and she used to have a homestead exemption. My father was an Army colonel. He fought 4 years in World War II. He was one of the most highly decorated soldiers in Rhode Island history. Okay, so she got that exemption. She got a widow exemption. She got a senior exemption for being over 65. They took it all away. And the reason why they took it all away is because, as I talked to the girl just today, and she said, well, when you told me that you took your mom down to Florida, I took it to mean that she moved. I said, well, so what if she did? That's still her primary home. That's her house. We pay taxes. If anything, there's, with her not being there a lot of the time, there's less things being used, less electricity, the roads. I said, so what are you telling me? She said, well, under our ordinance, we can vacate any kind of, tax credit. I was absolutely stunned. I was horrified. So, I mean, and I really don't know what to do. I mean, I do plan on calling a lawyer on Monday, but did you ever hear of anything so insane and cockamamie in your life? I mean, she still owns the house. We're still paying like $10,000 a year in taxes. And she doesn't, the only reason why she's not there, is because she's too sick. I've got to take care of her down here.
I mean, I have, and it's sort of topical. I have heard of people just sort of vacating tax ordinances. So there were these guys, and they were over in Boston, and they were right on the harbor, and they saw this tea, and they were like, we don't like the way this tea is taxed. So you know what? We're going to vacate the ordinance by throwing it in the harbor. And not making light of your situation, T. Yeah. It's unfortunate what happened to your mother, but it doesn't surprise me because, when you get up into those northeastern states, they are not as asset protection friendly. They are not as homestead friendly as the Sunshine State. Florida has a lot of advantages, and that's why I started that segment on my show, Estate Planning Around the Nation, because every week we basically highlight, or not every week, every time we do a segment, we highlight some other jurisdiction. But one of the takeaways is consistently, wow, look at how great Florida is compared to some other jurisdiction. And I can't wait to do Rhode Island now, because this certainly sounds like something that's wonky. In Florida, you have to actively remove the homestead election or it's automatically renewed. So, I mean, I don't think you could do it with a phone call. But T, I'm so sorry. And if you get an attorney up there that you're happy with, let me know. I haven't picked an attorney for my Estate Planning Around the Nation segment with Rhode Island yet. If you find a good one, I'm happy to consider it.
I will, Patrick. God bless you. And I love listening to you on Sundays at 5 p.m. And I look forward to the next time that you might be on later on in the day.
All right, T. Well, I will make sure that it gets announced, and I appreciate your request, T, and thank you for all your kind words about the show. Good luck to you and your mom. We'll be praying for both you guys, okay?
Thank you, Patrick.
All
God
right.
bless you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye,
Steve. All righty, 877-943-9673. Give us a call now, live and local. Attorney Patrick Smith, pinch hitting for Bill Bunkley, along with Dwayne Bischoff, CPA. And next, we got a call for you, Dwayne. Let's go to Don, who has a tax question. Don, how can we help you today?
Hey, Dwayne, this is Don. How you doing?
Good.
Hold on. Time out. This isn't just any Don. This is my dad.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he probably didn't want me to call him out, but that is my dad. Hey, Dad, how you doing?
Well, I'm afraid people know I owe them money, and I just don't want to let everybody know, that I'm on the air.
That's funny. Go ahead with your question for Dwayne.
I saw you in Claremont the last time. That's been a while.
Yep.
But I wanted to know: is there an exemption? If you're 75, if you happen to sell your house, and naturally it's going to be, worth 3, 4, 5 times what it was when we purchased it 42 years ago, is there an exemption on tax on gains for that at a certain age, or do you have to reinvest, or what?
I'm interested in this question too, because this recently came up, so I'm curious. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the law changed. It changed a good while back. So now the rule, there used to be you had a one lifetime you could sell and not have to pay tax. Before that, there was, as long as you purchased something more expensive, you wouldn't have to pay tax. Several years ago, they changed all of that to there's the 2 out of 5 year rule. So if it's been your residence for 2 out of the last 5 years, then if you're married, you can exclude up to $500,000 of gain on your house. So if you paid $100,000 for your house and now it's worth $700,000, and let's say you have closing costs of $50,000, so you have a gain there of $550,000, then $500,000 of that would be exempt, and you could pay tax on capital gains on $50,000. So
okay, because Patrick was 6 months old when we moved here, and
that's true.
This July, that'll be 42 years ago, and that's what I was curious. If we don't plan on selling it, but if we ever had to, I was curious what all would be involved in it. So.
And I want to clarify something, because I know people will catch this. They'll call tomorrow morning on the show. And I always say I'm a native Polk County Floridian, and I still am. Even though we said about moving into that house, I was born in Lakeland. All right. So just to clarify, when he said moved into that house, before someone said, well, where did he live before? I bet it was somewhere up north, like New York or something. No, it wasn't. I was born in Lakeland.
Well, probably an hour or so after your mother cut the grass, we went to the hospital so she could have you. So,
well, I like that she finished her chores first. That's good. So.
Yeah, we were pleased.
So one other thing to add to that is any improvements that you've made to the house since you purchased it can be added to that original cost basis for computation of gain. So if you added a room, if you redid a roof, if you renovated a kitchen, if you added a driveway or a pool, any of that type of thing.
No, they went away on a weekend, and Christy and I stayed over there and remade their entire great room, painted it, and did a bunch of stuff to it. You remember that, Dad?
I do, and I think about it every time I walk in it because it's so much better than it was, and I didn't want it painted, but I wouldn't have it any other way now. So
But-
I mean, yeah.
and I'll tell you that-
your mama's got a question.
Oh gosh.
Hey, Dwayne, I'm not gonna let Don outdo me.
Okay.
I've got some U.S. savings bonds,
Mm-hmm.
and they got my Social Security number on them. So I don't have to pay taxes or report them now because I'm not cashing them in. I don't even claim them. They say I don't have to.
Is there a question? That's more like a declaratory statement, Mama. You're telling him something.
Well, is what I'm saying correct to that point?
Okay.
Yeah, once you cash them, that's when the interest is generally paid.
Okay.
That's what we call the realization event, Mama.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yes, right. But now, so I would have to pay the taxes on them. This is a part 2 question. The first part is if I pay the taxes, but they're for someone else, then do they have to ever report it? Or since I paid the taxes, just give them the money and then we've taken care of it?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. If you
Okay.
cash them and pay the taxes, no one else would have to pay the taxes on them.
Okay. Now, if I passed away,
No, you said two-part question. Actually, you
It's
said
okay.
part two
No,
question.
this is
Now you're
actually a
getting into
very good. This is actually a good question that comes up a lot.
It's a trilogy now, Mama.
well, so far y'all passed.
Okay.
Y'all doing a good job. So
I get this.
So-
So this is how the game works. As long as we get the question right, we move on to the
another
next
one.
round. Okay, great. We got 2 minutes left in
Yes.
the show, by the way, or in this segment.
Okay, the next one, if I've passed away and hadn't paid the taxes and they're cashed in, then does the state pay the taxes or does the person that gets the money?
So there's actually an election that can be made, and we do it typically a lot of times when the decedent can pay the taxes on the interest earned all the way through their death, because a lot of times they have a lower tax bracket than the person who's receiving it. So we can pay the interest all the way up to that point, and then when they cash it in, then the estate has very little tax to pay.
Okay, now Patrick and Don, y'all did understand that, so I don't have nothing to worry about, correct? Okay. Thank you very much. Those
Oh,
were very good.
there's not a part 4?
No,
Oh,
that's it for me.
All right. We don't have time for you to tell the chicken crossing the road joke, Mama, but maybe next time you call in, we can do that. So,
Okay, well, I'll come up with something
all right.
about the chicken.
Love you guys. Thanks
All
for
right.
calling in. Bye
All
bye.
right, love you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
877-943-9673. Yeah. When Mom tells a joke, it's one of those things. It's funny for all the wrong reasons. So it's like, the chicken joke. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? So Mama will be like, all right, so there's this chicken. Now, no one knows what he's doing beside the road. It's a 30-minute conversation about how this chicken's day is going before we get to anything about crossing the road. It's just like we get lost in the weeds so fast. So 877-943-9673. This is Attorney Patrick Smith along with Dwayne Bischoff, CPA, pinch hitting for Bill Bunkley. Our final segment before we wrap up for the weekend and finish up our show prep for tomorrow morning's live broadcast of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Coming up next, give us a call if you want to be on the air. 877-943-9673. Stay tuned.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel. Home to the biggest shows on TV, like Dennis Prager, weekdays at noon Eastern, followed by Jay and Jordan Sekulow at 2. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
The Cal Thomas Commentary is brought to you by Values Through Media. Now here's syndicated columnist Cal Thomas.
The rumor and gossip mills are in high gear in Washington. Various reports from anonymous sources say President Biden is preparing to withdraw from the race and that Vice President Kamala Harris will replace him. Are they kidding? Harris's approval numbers are worse than Biden's, and her disapproval numbers are higher than his. Her word salads are as bad and sometimes worse than the president's. Here are just a few of many examples. Quote, "You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before." Say what? How about this one? "It's time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day." Okay. "Did you know the benefit of a community bank is that it's in the community?" She said it. How about this one? "We've got to take this stuff seriously as you are because you have been forced to take it seriously." Democrats are stuck with Harris should Biden choose to withdraw. She was a DEI hire, and they are not about to boot a woman of color. I'm Cal Thomas.
For a free copy of today's commentary, visit calthomas.com or write us at Values Through Media, P.O. Box 373340, Key Largo, Florida 33037. That's P.O. Box 373340, Key Largo, Florida 33037. Please specify the date and subject. Your tax-deductible gifts to Values Through Media help support us. Listen again next time for the Cal Thomas Commentary.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our healthcare. This is why so many people are joining Metashare right now. Metashare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Metashare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. Metashare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second. And if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 855-90-BIBLE. That's 855-90-BIBLE. 855-90-BIBLE.
Oil investments involve a high degree of risk and actual results may vary. Oil and natural gas keep going up as the Russia conflict escalates. Get in on the next major oil boom now and help the U.S. with your patriotic investment that can potentially pay you monthly income for up to 20 or more years. That's the sound of a producing oil well and the sound of a smart investment. If you're an SEC accredited investor and have at least $25,000 liquid now, you can take advantage of Encore Energy's projects and a huge tax savings for this year. If you invest in oil and natural gas, you're allowed to write off nearly 100% of your investment in the first year. Goldman Sachs is projecting oil to go up to $100 a barrel, and natural gas is the fuel of the future and trading at record prices. Call 800-287-6691. Encore Energy is a major investor and experienced operator in its core area of operations. Call now and learn how to deduct 100% of your investment and create 20 or more years of potential monthly income. Call 800-287-6691. That's 800-287-6691.
You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am.
All right, with every head bowed and every eye closed. I'm sorry, it just feels like invitation music, like everybody should be invited in for an altar call. Like, I don't know. So Bill may not like me saying that, but it just makes me think of church. It does. I like it. All right. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. Our final segment of the Bill Bunkley Show. Pinch hitting attorney Patrick Smith along with Dwayne Bischoff. If you have a legal question, 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. You have a tax question, Dwayne's here to answer those. He is the CPA that I trust the most. 877-943-9673. And you said you're headed home to watch the Rays game. Who are they playing tonight?
Gosh, I forget who they're playing.
Doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah.
No. Are they at the Trop or are they on the road?
I think they're, I don't even know.
You had season tickets for the longest time.
I did.
Because I used to consistently pilfer off you. So I would always get the Mets and usually the Cubs if they weren't coming into town. So, I wish I had more time for baseball. I was just telling Christy, we were driving home from dinner the other night. And I said, one of the things I'm going to promise myself is next season, I'm going to go to more of the minor league games around here because we have such a great minor league system right around here between Clearwater and Dunedin. And it's a shame because I don't really go enough to sort of watch minor league ball. And the Dunedin team, that's the
Blue Jays.
High A. That's their high A ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the Thrashers that's Double A, or is that their rookie league?
It might be the same.
Is it high A as well? The Clearwater Thrashers? Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, so some solid baseball players at that level regardless. So 877-943-9673.
Playing the Rangers.
Ooh.
Shane Boz is pitching tonight.
Well, that means Wyatt Langford will be playing. So that's the former Gator great.
Yeah.
Who this time last year had just finished up a College World Series running. Now he's already hit his first Grand Slam. He hit for the cycle on June 30th, and they sent his cleats straight to Cooperstown. That kid's special.
Yep.
And, I don't know how it would work out, but I don't feel like the Mets are going to be able to hold on to Pete Alonso. And yes, I know it's not a sports talk show, but this is our final 4 minutes, so they're not going to kick me out now. I wonder if there's any chance that Alonso could pull a DeGrom leave the Mets, go to the Rangers. I mean, the Mets, the Rangers are set at first base. They don't really need, but think about adding that bat to the lineup. If you added that bat to your already stacked Texas Ranger defending World Series lineup, it wouldn't be a bad thing.
Nope.
I mean, and that's American League ball, so he could be on the team as a DH.
Yep.
And that would be a solid spot for him. But yeah, Wyatt Langford, crazy good hitter. And I think the kid's going to have a Hall of Fame career. And yeah, excited to see. And Jack Caglione, excited to see where he goes in the draft here in a few days.
Yep.
But I got him going top 5. Where do you have Cags going in your draft? Top
Probably same.
It wouldn't surprise me if he goes 1. I mean, the kid had him not getting the golden spikes. I'm sorry.
That was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous.
Not even being invited was ridiculous.
Well, Charlie Condon was great.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of swing and miss with Charlie Condon.
Do you show up at the World Series?
No, exactly. If your team
Nope.
doesn't make it, should you even? I don't know. Anyway, we are talking sports a little bit, but 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. You know what would be fun if we got Jeff, you, and the boys, and we all went to a Rays game? That would be a good time. That's a lot of baseball knowledge in that group of guys. So if you have a legal question, the number to call, 877-943-9673. I am your guest host for Bill Bunkley, attorney Patrick Smith. We have just a couple minutes here left. So wrapping up the show, Dwayne, can't thank you enough for making the time. Again, thank you for Senator Jay Collins for calling into the 3 o'clock hour and participating in the show. Dwayne, again, people who want to get in touch with you, if they want any tax advice or help with their taxes, it's 813-356-0400.
Correct.
813-356-0400 to reach Dwayne Bischoff, owner of Bischoff and Associates, and his amazing staff. They'll be happy to help you. If you want to reach out to my office, 844-PATRICK. That's 844-PATRICK. Simple, easy to remember number, 844-728-7425, 844-728-7425. And I'm going to head home, finish up my show prep, eat some good supper, and then I will be back with you live tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. for our regularly scheduled broadcast of the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So go ahead and write that down if you want to tune in to our regular Saturday morning legal call-in show that we'll do on about 15 stations throughout the state of Florida. So we are looking forward to that. And again, a very special thank you to the Salem Powers That Be for inviting us to fill in. Thank you to Bill Bunkley for giving us the opportunity to fill in for him. And we've been honored to be with you the last 3 hours. And we will actually talk to you a couple days next week as well, as we'll be filling in. So going to do this a couple more times. So that'll make T excited. And did pass along the request, that per T's request, to possibly do this again in the future. So we'll see what kind of decisions get made by the decision makers that make those decisions. So if you want to call us tomorrow during the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, same number, write it down, 877-943-9673. And again, to reach Dwayne at his office, 813-356-0400. For any tax advice, to reach me at my office, 844-PATRICK. or 844-728-7425. Everybody stay safe. God bless. And of course, go Gators.
His final breath upon the cross is
Joe, technician from Safe Light Auto Glass.
My last customer was a busy mom with lots to do until she noticed a big crack in her windshield. She didn't want to drive with her baby in that car, so she scheduled online at safelight.com. No one makes replacing so she knew who was coming to her house and how soon.
Call 1-800-800-2727 or go to safelight.com.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
You need to repent of your sin, turn from whatever you know is wrong, and trust Christ, not Christ and religion.